Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this early Sunday. Well, early Sunday for me. Might be late Sunday for some of you guys. I see Ollie's here on the chat. Can you hear me all right, my friend? Anthony, what's up, my friend? Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday, my friends. Bam! We should be going live in just a few minutes. My God. Let me just make sure that we are live everywhere. There we go. We should now be live on the we should now be live on YouTube as well. Ollie says, hey, I want to ask one thing. What do you think the reason behind closing of giant like Technicolor and many more giants like this? It's a very easy answer, to be honest. I mean, it's an easy answer, but at the same time, it's got like a bunch of different aspects to consider, right? The problem is the capitalistic model that has been pursued for the past several decades, being or making this whole thing unsustainable. Okay, so here's the problem, and actually, let me go full camera because it's a really good question, and this is a problem that we're seeing not only again on the film industry or the commercial industry, also on the games industry, right? The amount of work that is needed to produce content at a high level is really high, right? So if you want to produce something at the level of like the cinematics for World of Warcraft, or if you want to produce a movie at the level of what we see in Star Wars, or if you want to produce commercials at the level that we see in the Super Bowl ads, right? Like that level of quality that you might want for your products is really high, and therefore you need a lot of really expert people doing it. The problem is every single company in the world, and this is again the capitalistic or like way of seeing things, every single person in the world wants to spend the least amount of money and get the most amount of revenue, right? Like the most amount of profit. So if I tell you, hey, Olis, if you give me $100 and you trust me, I'm gonna give you back $500 at the end of the month, right? Like that's amazing. You're like, of course, I'll do it. Like, let's freaking do it, right? That's what they're thinking about. It's like, okay, if I make a commercial, a game, a movie that's gonna cost me $100, I want to make $500 in return, and that's very difficult to do. Very difficult. What if I told you, hey, if you give me $100, I'm gonna get you back $150, so half more of what you invested, right? Like what you invested plus half more. Most people might say, well, that's still quite fair. Like I like it, I'll do it. But a lot of people nowadays are like, no, I don't want that. So what happens, or what has been happening, especially big studios like Technicolor, is this thing called the race to the bottom, right? So a client, let's say, for instance, the guys from Clash Royale, right? I don't remember, King, right? I think they're called. They are like, hey, we need to make a commercial for our next expansion of the app, right? And we want to see who wants to do it. So they start asking studios around, studios who tend to specialize on this kind of like commercials. And they say, okay, this is what I need. How much is it going to cost me? And then one studio says, oh, it's going to cost you $100. But then the other studio says, hey, I'll do it for $95. So $5 less than that guy is doing it for. It's like, oh, okay, cool. And the quality is pretty much the same. And then someone else comes and is like, oh, you know what? Like I just opened a new studio and we're located in a different country. Therefore, we have different tax systems and whatever. So I could actually charge you $80 for it. And then it becomes this, again, sort of like race to the bottom, where everyone's trying to cut the competition out by offering a lower price. But at the end, what ends up happening is, because the client needs a lot of changes and because the client requires a lot of like different things, the budget balloons up and it's, again, non-sustainable. So it comes to a point where you're actually working at a loss. Like you are getting paid way less than you need to pay someone else or like your whole team. And you can't ask for higher prices, because if you ask for a higher price, then people are going to go to another studio. So it's just a mess. It's just a mess. I do think that's something that is going to change, or needs to change, in the next decade, let's say, like in the next few years. People need to understand that the entertainment system is not a gambling sort of like system. It's not like the stock market where you can gamble and then suddenly have like like 300%, 400% return on investment. It's something that needs to be a little bit more controlled. You can get return of investment, you can make this a business, but the margins might not be as high as people want them to be, and people need to be a little bit more mindful about how to better set their budgets, how to better respect the time that it takes, how to better hire people. Like, again, it's a bunch of different factors. Let's see. We should be live on YouTube as well. We got a question, says, what are your thoughts on AI coming for 3D? As I'm a student, will it affect me in my career or job in the future? Yes, it will affect you, but not in the way you might be thinking right now. I will be making, like, this week's video on Wednesday, I will be making a video about AI, my opinion about it, the things that you need to learn about AI, because there are things that you need to learn about AI, and again, in my opinion, how best to approach it. But yes, like, AI is changing everyone's job, not just the 3D industry. Every single industry in the world is being affected about this thing. Oldie says, what are your opinions on becoming a good artist who is skilled in multiple departments and works across the pipeline, or we must have a specialization? I think so. That's a great question, and that's again another very old question. Like, it's been asked so many times, right? I remember when I was a student, people would ask this question. My advice, and from what I've seen, it's been relatively high success rate. What I'm about to say is, if you live in a country, or if you're going to be working on projects that are smaller in size, right? Like, if you're in a country where the 3D industry is not as developed, and you need to have multiple hats on the production, then being a generalist is going to be more efficient or more beneficial for you, because you're going to be able to adapt to multiple situations. If you live in a country, or you're going to be working on projects that are very, very big, like this super specialized projects, and you can afford to specialize on just one specific niche thing, then that's also a really good option. The only problem that I see is that if you hyper specialize in something, it does become a little bit more complicated to then pivot to something else. Whether if you are more of a generalist person and you know a little bit of everything, it's easier for a generalist person to then pick something within that generalist like scope and hyper specialize in it. Does that make sense? So let's imagine like you hyper specialized on grooms, right, for animals. Like, that's your freaking focus. You just do grooms, and you just do grooms for animals, and you just do grooms for animals for film like stuff, right? Like really advanced high quality stuff. If there are no longer jobs about that, then pivoting and becoming, let's say, a haircut artist for games, it's not as simple, right? It's not going to be as easy for you, because you're going to have to learn a whole new pipeline and a whole new way to do things. Yes, a lot of the things that you might know about your specialization are going to help you, but there's going to be a lot of things where it's just going to be like a lot of hard work to really get to understand most of the pipeline. Whether, on the other hand, if you are a generalist and you already know a little bit about haircuts, you know a little bit about hair systems, you know a little bit about XGen, let's say, and then you land in a project where they hyper focus on XGen for animals, it's like, okay, I have the basics. Now I need to, yes, do my part, do my hard work, and hyper specialize on that specific thing. But I feel it's a little bit easier if you have a wider range of knowledge to then focus on one specific part of the pipeline rather than the other way around. Personally, if you ask me, when I had to make this decision, I decided to become more of a generalist. You can see it on my portfolio. It has a little bit of everything. And inside of that, like, generalistic, so like a point of view, I decided to become a little bit more oriented towards characters. Is characters all the things that I do? No. And you can see it on my portfolio. I don't call myself a character artist, because even though I like doing characters and I really enjoy doing characters, characters are not the only thing that I know, right? So it really depends on how you approach things. And again, it really depends on other factors, such as your location, your drive, or what motivates you to keep going, right? I'm here in Mexico, right? In Mexico, the 3D industry it's very, very, very freaking small. So usually when I have a client here in Mexico, let's say a small project, I need to do modeling, rigging, animation, texturing, rendering, post-production. Sometimes I even do like voice work and like stuff like that. So it's very fun. I enjoy it, but it's definitely something that not everyone might resonate with. Let's see. Do you saw the speech of Roni Xiang? It looks like a deceleration of war against AI. No, I haven't seen it. I'll have to take a look at it. Can you tell me how art directors are different from supervisors, lead artists, and how their thinking is different from the other supervisors? That's another great question. So an art director is one of those things that can be a little bit tricky, again, to pinpoint, because there's so many different variations. to what an art director can do. But usually the art director is the one in charge of having a specific creative vision, right? Like they have a specific sensibility to the artistic things of the project, and they need to make sure that everyone on the team is going to that same specific direction, right? So they do need to know a little bit about, I would say, a little bit about like a supervisor lead where they can help people achieve that specific art direction. But it's a lot about making sure that the vision that the director has is respected throughout the decisions, the creative decisions. What colors are we using? How are the silhouettes of our characters? Are they very stylized, very cartoony? Are they more realistic, like a more grounded, like that kind of stuff? Those kind of decisions. Those are the decisions that an art director is going to be in charge of making. Let's see, sir, how to handle failure? Like, how can I handle that I will not affect my work and not break my flow? Oh, that's a good question, man. Can you specify, like, what do you mean by failure? Because there's so many different levels of failure, right? Do you mean failure when learning something? Do you mean failure when you are with a client and you, like, didn't deliver what they were expecting? Do you mean failure because you're not good at organizing your time? Like, what type of failure do you mean? Job rejection. Oh, rejection is, dude, rejection is one of, like, the most easy things to go over or to sort of be used to. How many jobs have you applied to? Like, honestly, are you applying to jobs right now? And if you are, how many are you applying to right now? Like a number. Give me a number. Do you know some of the company posts that want junior artists, but we see the details that they already mean 1 year experience? Yeah. So as I've mentioned before, anime, we talked about this on Friday. Nowadays, junior roles, it's not that they don't exist anymore, is that you are expected to know the equivalent of someone who's like a mid-level artist when applying to a junior role. That's just the reality of it. The good news is that the information that we have available to us right now is really big, right? Like, just look at the channel that we have right here. We share so much information that several years ago would have been almost impossible to have, right? So the amount of information that you have and the amount of like expertise that you can get on your own before you start applying is really, really good. So it's important to push that, right? Like we've talked about this, and we're gonna see that today. By the way, for those who are asking today, we're gonna continue with the portfolio reviews that we couldn't finish on Friday. So yeah, that's what we're gonna be working on. So Raf, here's the thing: you've applied to 4 jobs, man. You've applied to 4 jobs. That's nothing. Absolutely nothing. You need to apply to at least 100 jobs to be able to actually get like a consideration into a pipeline, especially if you don't have a strong network of professionals who might know you. Now, I don't know your portfolio, and I'm not going to be able to watch it right now because we're going to be covering the portfolios that were submitted already on our Discord channel. But if you want, you're free to submit your portfolio for next month, for August, or actually this month, for August. And we'll take a look at that at the end of the month, okay? So the next portfolio review, for everyone who might be wondering, is going to be on Friday, the 28th of this month of August, okay? The way this works is you guys are going to go to our Discord channel. Here, let me show you. Let me show you here. So if you go here to the Discord channel, and then you scroll down to where it says showcase, we have portfolio review, and here in the portfolio review, this is where we opened the post, and here in the post, here's where you can share your portfolio. Right now, you're not going to be able to do it. It's already locked, but this is where you're going to be able to share your portfolio for us to take a look, okay? So I believe the last one we saw was Lorenzo Pace from Italy. He has some really nice looking environment pieces. Yeah, we took a look at this. So for instance, this is like an excellent example of the kind of level that you need to have as an environment artist to be able to make it into the industry today in big studios. Again, there's different levels for smaller companies or smaller indie things. But if you want to apply, let's say, to CD Projekt Red, or if you want to apply to Ubisoft, or you want to apply to like one of these like big like studios, this is the kind of quality that you need to show. Like, look at the level of detail on the models and on the textures. Look at the illumination, right? Like, very realistic, very cinematic. Look at the composition even. Like, he's thinking about what kind of like path the player or the viewer could take in this specific environment. So this is the kind of like level that you need to achieve. Now, you might be, some of you might be saying this and be like, oh my God, like that's way too ambitious. Yes, it is. Like, that's the point of this like competition, right? Like, that's how how the world works. Like you can't expect to be earning a top position in a top studio with a subpar or suboptimal portfolio. You need to work hard to get there. And those who work hard will have more chances. It's not necessarily a guarantee, but you will have more chances to be able to make that. So, for instance, here's another example. Even though this is a relatively simple model, right? Like this, this is just like a guitar. This shows me that Lorenzo here has a really good understanding of texturing, of presentation. This is our LODs. Look at the UV map, like super clean, right? Even topology is really nice. There's a couple of things I might personally change, but it's not a deal breaker for me. So if you are learning 3D and your modeling, texturing, and presentation skills are not to the level that you're seeing right now on this piece by Lorenzo Pace, then I'm gonna tell you, you are still not ready to apply for a job, because this is sort of like the minimum requirement that someone should have to be able to apply for a big studio, right? Again, that doesn't mean that you cannot get a job doing other types of like freelance gigs and stuff like that. There's always someone who might need something that might not be as elaborate as this right here. But this to me is a perfect example of a piece that covers and showcases a good knowledge of the workflow principles that we normally use in the 3D industry, okay? So the use of like proper triangulation here to make sure that we capture the silhouette. Again, the variation of the textures, right? Like look at how there's more damage here where the hand usually rests, some of the chipping on the paint right there, the roughness on the metal. So there's a lot of things here. Again, it might seem like a very simple piece, but there is a lot of things here that show me that Lorenzo really knows his stuff. So this, as a recruiter, right? Like if I was hiring someone and I needed a modeler and a texture artist, this shows me, hey, you can count on Lorenzo because he is showing that he knows his stuff. We're probably going to see some more portfolios today, and I will call some of them out again, not with the intention of making them feel bad, but just to let them know, hey, like there are things on your knowledge or on your understanding of the process that still needs some work. And you need to cover those things before you even think about applying for a job. Okay. Poppy Skern says, hey, I've been loving your informative shorts, and this is my first time catching your stream. Well, welcome, Poppy. Happy to have you here. Yes, this is a special stream. We normally don't stream on Sundays, but on Friday, my voice was feeling a little bit coarse, and I didn't want to push it, so we split the portfolio review into two parts. I'm feeling okay now, a little bit better. It's still not 100% there, but definitely better. Is there a tutorial for creating UI substrate textures from Painter? Substrate? You mean like dirt and things like that? No, I don't think I've done a tutorial about that. Is Ubisoft dying? No, it's not dying. Can you suggest some kind of roadmap for someone who's a fresher and just wants to get into this field? Okay, Red Devil, that's a great question, but it's a very tricky question. So, if you ask me, I want to learn 3D, best thing you can do is tutorials. You can do free tutorials, you can do paid tutorials, whatever it is, just grab something and start with it. Personally, if you've never done any 3D before, I would recommend the Blender one that I have here on my site. The reason why I would recommend the Blender one is because, well, Blender is free, right? So it's going to give you a really good understanding of how the pipeline works. Like, it's exactly the same thing we talked about the guitar right here. We do this on this course. We do this axe, and we go through sculpting, retopology, UVs, baking, texturing. We do use Substance Painter, so just keep that in mind. But something like this, like a tutorial like this, will teach you the general ideas of how the 3D world works. And after you do that, then you can ask yourself, okay, did I enjoy this process? Was it something that I liked doing? Because some people don't. Some people, when you get to some of the technical stuff, they're like, oh no, I don't like this, so maybe this is not a career for me. And that's perfectly fine. But you do need to start, right? Like you can start with Donut if you want, like that's fine. But my point is you need to start like doing something. Now, if you ask me, hey, what would be the roadmap for me to get a job at a studio? I'm going to tell you right now, it's probably going to take you at least 2 to 3 years to be able to develop all of the skills and all of the knowledge that you need to produce a really good portfolio that might help you start your career. Like it's literally like any other career in the world. I know several years ago, it's funny, when I started 3D in 2011, I literally took a 3-month course at a local school here in Mexico, and after that I got my first job at a studio working on video games. It was like ridiculous, because back then, as long as you knew how to move like inside of Maya, you were pretty much hired, because no one knew about 3D, right? Like the knowledge was so niche that as long as you had like just a basic understanding of it, you would be hired. Nowadays, as I mentioned, the entry level is definitely higher, so you need to be more you need to prepare a lot more. We'll talk about this. We'll talk about that puppy. We'll talk about the different types of skills that you need. I will be isomask. Oh, Anthony, I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm not sure what an isomask is. Okay, cool. So let's start working on the portfolios, my friends. And we're gonna start today with Juan Manuel Booth. He is a 3D animator and a character artist. Nice, interesting. So I don't review a lot of animation, but let's take a look. Let's take a look. Okay, interesting. What is this? Spooky Night, personal project. Okay, cool. So here's one of the things, right? Like this is fine. I actually like the fact that we have a little bit of storytelling going on, right? Like there's something, like there's information that we can gather from some of the things happening on this scene. But the one thing, Juan, and I know this is an old piece, this is like from last year. One thing that we're definitely missing are a little bit more breakdowns, right? Like I would love to see a little bit more of the approach that you follow with this character. Like what kind of like a wireframe are you using? Maybe some shading like materials, something to just break it up a little bit. It's not again like a bad piece or anything. Just keep that in mind. Lost in Space. So for instance here, it's interesting. This piece right here has a lot of assets that I know were taken from either Quixel or some sort of like pre-rendered assets, right? Like these are assets that you can get online. I think this is what he did as part of the work. I would give this more focus. Like right now, if you think in terms of composition, right? If you think in terms of composition, look at how much space we're occupying on the screen, and look how much space the main element is occupying here, right? So we don't want that. We want always have not necessarily on the center, but just framed in a different way so that we can really appreciate all the hard work that was done on the helmet. The helmet looks very nice. I like it. It's a good mesh, good polygons. Like the modeling's fine. Skull is okay. There's a couple of like extra details that we can definitely add. It's weird that the skull has SSS. It looks like skin. So it is normal for bone to have a little bit of SSS. I do think it might be a little bit too much on this particular case. That's not necessarily a deal breaker for me. It's more about the forms. Like right now, this in terms of sculpting, I do feel like we're missing some like tertiary and fine details that we could add. To make the skull look a little bit better. Yeah, topology is fine. So I like this project. I like it. It does feel a little bit like a homework, and I see that you were doing this with two amazing instructors, Flo Tucci and Diego Emanuel Viegas. So that, again, that's fine. It's okay to have some schoolwork in your portfolio. I have some of my schoolwork on my portfolio, so it's perfectly fine. Just be mindful about, again, like how you present things to make them look, well, the best possible way. Art Jab, Black Rose Elise. This one, I do think it's not great. I think some of the proportions and some of the, what's the word? Some of the elements from the character itself, the anatomy especially, are not working perfectly fine for you. And it seems like you did this on an art jam, so I'm not sure how long you took to do this. I usually don't recommend doing or uploading things that are fast or were done fast because, well, usually quality suffers from that. Have some animation. Let's take a look. How your animation is. Hey, not bad, man. Like it looks nice, fluid, not jaggedy. Face expressions are quite nice. Okay, I like that as well. Nice floaty jumps on the character there. These do look a little bit more stiff on some of the areas. Okay. Okay, so again, this is like exercises. How do I know they're exercises? Usually the rigs, they tend to be a little bit more simple. Not bad though. Not bad. Yeah, this is quite nice, man. Nice wax cycle. I mean, I can of course see that it's like on the junior level of animation, right? Like there are things that could be improved. I'm not an animator, so I'm not gonna be able to give you like super fine like points or elements to work on. But do you have good skills, man, in animation? Yeah. I love that little dog. Really fun character. Yeah, dude, Juan Manuel, that's really nice. Your animation is really, really good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think from what I'm seeing here on your portfolio, your animation skills are stronger than your character skills. Okay, because for instance, this is not a bad character, and again, I applaud the fact that all of your elements are properly topologized. Like the textures look okay. Even the idea of the character is quite fun. But there are things in terms of form. For instance, there's like super smooth elements here on the chest. Like we're missing the clavicle bones. Some of the muscles are not like super well defined. We're missing an important muscle here on the arm. So there's a lot of things that are still missing on the sculpting side of things. Presentation is really good. I like the pose. I like the fact that you're rigging characters, and again, textures are not that bad. But the sculpting is it's not failing. It's just like it's not to the highest of the level that I'm seeing on some of the other pieces. Like for instance, these belts, right? These belts look like just like the brush, like the belt, the brush, like strap or whatever, and they're missing a lot of like the stitches, the support. Like they just look very clay-like. So I see that on most of the characters. The fact that you have good understanding of the textures, you have really good understanding of posing and on like rendering. Like this render right here is really good. But forms and some parts of the sculpt are not helping you as much. To be honest, based on what I saw on the animation reel, I would probably tell you to keep focusing on animation. Like that seems to be your big point right here, or where your skills are the highest. So it might be easier for you right now to land the job as an animator and keep working on characters, of course, keep learning about that pipeline, but focus on the animation, man, because it was actually really good. I don't see like junior portfolios with animation at that level of quality. Is it still possible to improve it? Of course, but that one's really good. My advice, and again, this is just my opinion, probably pursue animation more on this like stage to land the job, and while you're on the job, keep working on your character like portfolio if you want to do characters. Let's see. My country's 3D animation industry isn't very stable, and I recently lost my job. Should I focus on Upwork, freelancing, or finding a remote job? Any tips for succeeding in either? Thanks in advance. Yeah, so freelancing is really good. That's one of the things that I've been doing for the past 10 years, freelancing. I currently landed a freelance work job like the last week, which is a pretty cool one. So yeah, like freelancing is really good. I don't necessarily recommend Upwork because I know that they take fees, and again, it's like a race to the bottom where people are always offering like lower and lower rates. I would recommend you just reach out to your network and be like, hey guys, I'm available for work. I'm a 3D artist. This is what I do. If you have some shots of what you're doing, it's easier to find someone close to you or who you know that might be able to help you out rather than depend on like strangers on the internet, right? Says, hi Abe, my name is Hubert Ampuja. I'm from Finland. Finland, nice. I have recently graduated with a bachelor's degree in game art. I've been doing 3D for about 3.5 years so far, and the past 2 years I've been focusing on characters. I'm seeking for a job as a character artist in an indie game company. Currently I'm working on anatomy and sculpting. My question is, what are the areas I should focus on right now to better my chances at landing my first game job? Let's take a look. Hubert. Okay, interesting. Okay, cool. So the first thing I would probably recommend is remove this kind of stuff. This was done 2 years ago, and I understand what you were doing, right? Like you were learning the skills, but I already saw some of the newer pieces. This is not helping you. This is not helping you as much. So that one I will probably take out of the element. This is another interesting one. So I know this is a style that has been becoming a little bit more prevalent on the on recent years, which is this sort of like PlayStation 1 approach, right? Where the graphics look like very old. I personally don't like it. I don't think it's a bad idea to keep this one just because you are appealing to indie developers or indie studios. So there might be an indie studio where this kind of like style fits. The problem I have with this style, and again, I'm not saying this to you, Hubert, I'm saying this in general. The problem with this style is that someone who can do this kind of stuff that you're showing me right here, right? Like if I have a 3D artist that can do this kind of stuff, I know he can easily like do something like this, right? So I know if I ask someone with that level of expertise, like yourself, to do something like this, it's very easy to do something like this, like very easy. So that's why I personally don't love this style, because I find it's a style that anyone can sort of like get into very quickly. But if you want to include it or keep it, that's fine. I really like this one. It's a little bit more stylized, a little bit more unique. I like it. I think you did a good job on this one. There's some issues with the bakes. See that right there? That's an indication that your normals are doing too much work to capture that like silhouette there, and that could result in some shading issues on the engine. So you gotta be careful with those. I have in some of the courses we do talk about the bakes. You might want to check that. this right here is not necessarily mandatory nowadays when doing characters. I know why you did this. This is an approach that was used quite a bit like 15 years ago, before we had like intense or very heavy subdivision algorithms. So this approach right here of looping the muscles so that they don't lose their form, again, it works, but sometimes it can cause a little bit more issues than what you might want. So, and it's weird that you only loop that one, right? So if you're going to be doing this sort of like looping on muscles, I might expect to see it on more of the muscles. I'll probably just like keep it completely cylindrical. It shouldn't be that much of a difference. But yeah, that's a good character right there. This one reminds me of like a Jet Set Radio. For those of you that remember that game, we are old, my friends. We're old. Okay. Again, it's not that I don't like it. It's just they're relatively simple, right? In terms of the technical execution. And the problem with this, or not the problem, but the situation with things like this is you always need to ask yourself, why would someone hire me instead of anyone else in the world, right? Like, why am I offering that no one else in the world might be offering right now? And this character right here doesn't show me anything that I couldn't get from a lot of other artists out there. Does that make sense? So that just makes it a little bit harder for you, because at that point, the skills that you're presenting are not going to be the defining factor of whether you get hired or not. What's going to be the factor is going to be how much do you charge? Like, what's your cost, right? As an artist, like, are you going to charge me more because you're in Finland, meaning you're in Europe, right? Or should I go with someone in another country? Should I go with someone with more expertise, maybe, even if it's a little bit more expensive? So those are the kind of questions that you want to ask yourself. And again, like, if I take a look at some of the topology, like, there's no reason to have all of these loops right here. You can simplify a bunch of this. So even if you're doing this like Jet Set Radio style, you still need to follow the principles and the things that we normally talk about in terms of optimization. Like this hands right here, they're way too heavy. For this, like, again, low poly character, I think the hands are way too heavy. Same for the ears. Like there's like some weird connections and some weird loops. Like this thing right here, that's not gonna deform properly. Even if we were to do a very simple rig, it's gonna be complicated to follow that properly. Okay. Well, let's go to this one. I want to see this one. Nice. Yes, hand painted. So hand painted has been this style that has risen quite a bit in the past couple of years. You are on the right track, but there's a bunch of issues here in terms of the values. And I know people are always like, oh, Abe talks too much about the values. He's always focusing on the values. Yes, because they're very important. And I'm not gonna like what's the word? I'm not gonna ask for forgiveness for talking about the fundamentals. So what do I mean by the values? Like, what's the issue with this character? The issue is that if we take this image and we desaturate it, right, every single part of the character has the exact same value range, right? So for instance, here on the skirt, if we take one of the darkest values, which is this one right here, one of the lightest values, which is this one right here, and the mid value, which is this one right here, right? That's our value grouping for this skirt right here. And then if we go, for instance, to the face, we do the same. We grab our darkest value right here, we grab our mid value right here, and we grab our light value right here, which could be like the eye, right? If I grab both of those values and I compare them to this ones right here, can you see how they're very close together? Like they're pretty much the exact same value on the exact same value range. You don't want that. You always want to have the highest contrast on the top part. We talked about this. I showed you this yesterday, or not yesterday, on Friday. So if you go to the Dota design guide, this is a design guide that the Dota guys shared several years ago, and you can see it here. Look at this. You always try to have the lighter values on the top and the darker values on the bottom in this sort of like style, in the hand-painted style, because this is the area where you want your players to be focusing a little bit more on. So we should be having way less contrast and way less like intensity on the lower sections and more intensity on the top sections. The other thing that I see is that the colors look very muddy. What does muddy mean? Muddy means when we are what's the word? Muddy means when the colors are very close to each other. For instance, here, the yellows again. Like if I grab this value right here, I want you to look at the hue. So the hue right now is set at 35. So this is a dark brown set at 35. This is a light brown set at still at 35. And this one right here, it's at 36. So what this person did, in this case, what you did, my friend Hubert, is when you were painting, right? When you were painting, you probably wanted here. Like you were painting and you probably grabbed like a base color. Let's say this one right here. Open my tablet here. There we go. There we go. And then you just like push the value up. And with that, you started like shading the light of the element, right? And then you push the value down. And then you shaded the shadow of the element, right? That's like the first thing that I teach you on the hand painted course that you should not do, because what this allows, or what this generates, it's a very muddy situation. A sphere in this case that looks very flat, very, I don't know, boring. So what should you do instead is this: you start with your base color, that's your local color value, right? Like your local color, like hue or whatever. And then once you have this, you push the value up, but also change the hue a little bit. So in this case, I'm going to push a little bit more towards the yellows. I might even, for instance, in this case, desaturate a little, because light tends to desaturate a little bit more. And now I add the light. See that difference right there? See how now this sphere looks a little bit more interesting? That's the kind of stuff that we want to see. That's the kind of like light that we want to perceive. Maybe actually going to go like really, maybe a little bit more orangey. Like that. A little bit higher. Kind of like a warm light. There you go. See that? So that's going to be my light. And then for the shadows, again, I grab this. Yes, I'm going to push this down, but I need to think about what kind of other color can I use. Maybe I'm going to go for like a blue. It's going to be like a very desaturated, sort of like dark blue, something like that. There you go. That's going to make my whole thing look a little bit more juicy. Okay, that's what the kind of like result that we want to see on our shading, right? So instead of having this boring, muddy looking sphere, we want to go for something that's a little bit more interesting, visually speaking. And it feels like you did the exact same thing everywhere, right? Like for the skin. Again, if I start sampling the skin, here's how I know. Again, I just look at the hue right here and I sample all of the colors around it and see how that number doesn't really change. It's always 24, 23, 22. So that tells me that you didn't really change the hue a lot. Like you kept the hue very, very close together. Same for this one right here. Like pretty much the exact same hue. You want to move things a little bit. You want to modify them a little bit. Again, for you and for everyone else watching on the site, I did this course. This is the hand-painted 3D character for games course. It's a full pipeline. But the first chapter, pretty much all of the first things, like color properties, brushes, all of these things are the important things that you need to follow in order to understand this process, okay? So just watch the free preview. Just watch the free basic properties about color, and you are going to understand how to best apply this kind of stuff. It's a good character. I do think we have issues, again, with the value construction and with some of the colors. It definitely looks a little bit muddy. We need to clean things a little bit more. Topology wise, there's room for optimization, but it's not a bad thing. Okay, so just like I would still keep it, especially again for indie studios. Like knowing that you know how to do at least the basics of hand painted stuff is good. Oh yeah, it definitely follows the Zenithal highlights techniques. I actually, when I teach in the course, I do a lot of that. I do a lot of what's the word, comparison to miniature painting, because I do miniature painting as well. Here. Not sure if you guys are gonna be able to see it. Very small. Let's see if it actually focuses. Oh. No, it's not focusing. It's too small. But this is a dwarf, one of my characters from like D&D that I play with. This is from Artisan Guild. Really amazing dudes. But yeah, like all of the techniques that you use for like traditional like miniature painting, you can use them in the digital world and get a nice result. So let's see. Do you have courses? No, I don't. Most of my courses are in English. Like all of my courses are in English. They do have subtitles, so that makes it a little bit easier. And there's an option that you can use here instead of Google Chrome that actually gives you like Spanish subtitles. You might want to try that. But no. Sí doy asesorías en español. Entonces, si necesitas una asesoría 1-a-1 en español, mándame un mensaje por Discord y también lo puedo hacer en español. But yeah, normally my courses are in English. What I just mentioned there is that I do have mentorships, like one-on-one mentorships. If you want to do it in Spanish, of course, during the mentorships, we can do it in Spanish. Let's see. Hello, sir. I have a question. Let's allow that. As a 3D artist in Mexico, how hard would it be to get to another country, and is it even possible? It is possible. Some countries are a little bit easier than others. Right now, being hired to go, for instance, to the US, it's very difficult. Why? Because of all of the geopolitical situations that are happening, right, with the migration and that kind of stuff. So I would not like, Again, be very hopeful about that. Hopefully in the next couple of years, if things calm down, it's going to be a little bit easier. Canada, it's a little bit easier. Some countries in Europe, it's a little bit easier. But the fun thing about our stuff is that there's more and more like work from home options and possibilities, like remote work. Currently, I'm working for a studio in the US, and I'm working here from home, so it is possible. Of course, the more advanced your portfolio is, the more experience you have, the more connections you have, the easier it is going to be for you to get that those sorts of opportunities. But yes, it is possible. So here's Hubert. This is interesting. Here you did do what I just mentioned. You did do the sort of like different colors on the shadows and stuff like that to give this character a little bit more depth. So this character is definitely looking better. There are some issues with anatomy. Some of the anatomy muscles need to be exaggerated a little bit more and just worked a little bit more. But I like the fact that you finished again this character completely. My advice, and this is an advice that I give all of the character artists, is try to also do, for instance, a female character. Female characters are tricky because the anatomy is the same, but the intensity of some of the details and some of the forms is way different, right? So try to have or do a female character as well for your portfolio, and well, of course, include it here. Okay. Marcus Detroit says, hello from Vietnam. Big fan. As a college student, I always love your videos. Keep up the good work. You are welcome, my friend. Thank you very much for your support. Let's go to the next one. Next one is Aegis, says Dave Gavande. Says, hi, I'm Dave from India. I recently started watching your videos and really enjoy the way you teach. I'm a second-year game art and design student, and I was wondering if you could take a look at my portfolio. I'm also kind of confused about what I should focus on more. Which role should I go for? Let's take a look. Okay, so this definitely tells me that you're a student, and I'm not saying this in a bad way, but I am seeing some things that are very common to see in students' portfolios, right? So, for instance, we have two of the same weapon right here. We have this one, and it seems like the only thing that is changing is the texture. Presentation-wise, it's very difficult to see what's going on here. Like the element is very dark. These textures, I don't think they're working the way you intended them to work. I think they're looking just like way too intense. Like the bump or the normal map that you're using is way too intense. We're not seeing a wireframe, so it's even more complicated for me to tell you what to fix. And I'm gonna be very blunt with you here, my friend. Be very careful about fan arts. Fan arts are not necessarily a bad thing, but if you don't execute them really well, it's going to be very difficult to make your fan art, again, like get some traction online, right? Why? Because people are very, like, they know how the original looks. So if you don't get really close to the original one, it's going to be complicated. Like if you, again, take a look at my portfolio, I don't have a lot of fan arts. I did this fan art right here, which is the Blade of the Black Empire from World of Warcraft. I did this a couple of like months ago. And I've done the Majora's Mask, which was just like, again, like a very basic model and texture. And that's it. I think that's the only sort of like fan art stuff that I've done in my portfolio. I've done more fan art on my own, right? But it's not on this thing right here from Spirited Away, right? Which was the environment and stuff. So I don't have a lot of like fan arts because, again, they can be a little bit dangerous. Okay, now if we go to, for instance, this one right here, this is the kind of stuff. It's funny, you are following one of the advices that I normally give to my students, which is if you're gonna be doing something simple, do it. Do more of those things and make like a little scene, which you did right here, right? Instead of just having like a table or like a bench, you did the whole like a process, like the whole little like entourage right here. But it just looks weird. Like, why do we have this lamps just hanging from nowhere? Like, we would need a wall and something to hang them with. The other problem that I have with this element right here is the fact that the objects are relatively simple in nature, right? Like, they're just boxes. They're just boxes. Like, the most complex object that you have right here is probably the barrel, because you have, or it looks like you bottle each individual plank by itself. So that makes it very difficult for this to... Interesting. Actually, I take that back. So here's the thing. No. The problem is not actually the models. The problem is you lost something here from the sculpt, because your sculpt actually looks quite nice, especially this little chest right here, this like toolbox. I think you did a good job on that one. But something happened on your bakes where you lost all of that information. It also looks like you're trying to do, like, again, stylized head painted stuff, and you're depending too much on the generators and the basic like layers instead of substance. So I can see most of the elements, for instance, here on the table, you just threw in like a metal edge wear on all of the edges with a lighter tone. You are using nice variation on the colors, but the fact that the metal edge wear is everywhere, well, that's not going to help you. So if you are going to be doing hand painted stylized stuff, commit to it, like really commit to it and do it to this level right here, right? Like that's the kind of level that you want to show for like hand painted stylized stuff if possible. Try not to keep things, again, way too simple. Again, I think your sculpts are looking quite nice. Even the balls are looking quite nice. So it's the texturing where you need a little bit more work. And if you were trying this like hand painted approach, well, you need to think about how to best implement it. Funny, again, like you did some glass bottles and they're not here. So I'm guessing you couldn't really like figure out a way to properly paint the effects of the balls and just decided not to include them. It's understandable, but again, if you want your portfolio to really stand out, we need to go that extra mile. Okay, this one I don't like, and the reason why I don't like it is because it doesn't have a clear silhouette. Like I don't even understand what this is. I know it says Burden Shrine, but I don't know what this is. The colors are way too saturated, right? Like in the world, you're not going to find this kind of like saturation everywhere. There might be some points, like maybe the flowers, you want them to be really saturated, but it's very difficult to find something as saturated as this thing right here. And again, the main reason why I don't like this piece is because I don't understand what this is. I don't know if it's a weapon. I don't understand if it's a like an environment piece. I don't know what this is. So it's very... I'm not sure if it seems like it's this. I'm gonna be honest, this reads to me like AI, because again, it makes no sense, right? I would have preferred if you picked any of the other ones. Like even this fish one looks a lot better. This one just screams AI to me. Let's put it to a vote. So what do you guys think? Is this picture right here AI or not? I'm pretty like, I'm like 95% confident that this is AI. Why? Because again, things don't make sense. So for instance, this thing right here, just sort of like blends into this thing right here and then continues over here. It just like, it makes no sense. There's no symmetry, right? So this thing, for instance, is not in line with this guy right here. If this was symmetrical, I would expect this to be on the center. Yeah, like this thing's coming out of nowhere, like this. Yeah, like this leaf right here, again, coming from one of the petals. So this is AI, and that's why you guys got to be very careful. And believe me, it's getting harder and harder to figure out some like AI stuff. There are some AI stuff that are really good that you can actually not tell if it's AI or not. This one's a little bit more obvious, so I would just be mindful about this kind of stuff. Like don't fall for it. Okay, try to go for something like this. Now I'm gonna tell you why you didn't go for something like this, probably, and I'm guessing that one of the reasons why you decided not to do this particular piece right here, it's because it's definitely more complex, right? Not only in the colors, but also in the forms, like the modeling and everything. It's a complex piece. But that's the thing. Like, again, that's the stuff that's going to make your portfolio stand out. You need to make sure that you have something that looks really, really interesting, really cool. This will be an excellent portfolio piece. Like, if you can properly do the full pipeline, right? Like modeling, texturing, everything, this will be a really, really nice way to do it, okay? So yeah, go for that. Okay. I was about to call you out on the description as well. Let me see. Oh, nice. You're at least, yeah. See, I would not be proud of showing this, to be honest. I would not be proud to say that, hey, the project began with AI-generated concept art for reference, followed by creating every asset from scratch and advancement. Like, all of this is great. Like, all the information about the different things and the softwares to use, that's great. But I don't necessarily would be proud of saying, hey, I used AI for this thing right here. And the reason why I wouldn't do it is because there's so much information out there that's already available for you. Like, there's so many people who have done concept art about like tavern props in stylized effects that it would just be better to pick one of those. Okay, so hope that helps, my friend. Let's go with the next one. Let's see, did I miss any questions right now? Hello, sir. I have a question. As a 3D artist, and I already answered that. Because artists always say that the students just need to add simple assets and props in their portfolio. I'm not sure what you're answering there, oldies. Puneet says, hey, Abraham, I watched your marble designer course, but please explain how to export it, retopo, and sculpt details, how to use it for production. Please create a playlist on it. I have a course. I know that you already got the marbles one, but on the retopology course, we talk about that. So on the retopology course, on the last chapter, creature topology, we have the belts and pants topology. That's where I explained how to properly like prepare everything. Can you please make a course on Substance Designer? I don't think I will be making a course on Substance Designer. I might invite someone to do one for the channel, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to do that because I'm not that well like educated in Substance Designer. I know the basics of it. I've used it before. I have it here, but I don't use it as my go-to software, and therefore like it's gonna be very difficult for me to share something with you that you can't easily find on YouTube. This is Yamas Zdiki. I'm from Afghanistan and currently studying for a bachelor's degree in animation in Turkey. My main focus is creating 3 characters for games and animal. I'm working on portfolio. Okay. Okay. Take a look. Yeah, so as you properly mentioned on the information there on the what's the word? Guys, give me 1 second, okay? I'll be right back. 1 second. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so let's see. Where were we? Okay, yeah, so we were here with Yama, and we were gonna mention that he did mention on his message that he needs more stuff on his portfolio. Yes, and here's the thing, man. Not only do you need more things on your portfolio, you need things that are higher up in the quality side of things, right? For instance, this guy right here, this little plane that you modeled, the UV that you're using, it's not ideal. There's a lot of empty space, like there's way too many space between the islands, especially for like a 4K map. And I feel like there might be way too many cuts as well. I understand why you might have done that to make it maybe a little bit easier on the texturing side of things, but there are other ways to handle the texturing side of things. The textures also, to be honest, leave a lot to be desired because I see just very, very basic construction. It's just like a base material, some grunge things on top, some like brush strokes and stuff. And that's pretty much it. Let's take a look at the topology. Okay, so topology-wise, you're actually not that, like, it's not that bad. Although, I'm a little bit worried about the fact it looks like either you subdivided this. Yeah, it kind of looks subdivided, because you have clean topology, but it looks subdivided. Yeah, it's just the asset, man. Like, the asset's not a great asset. The execution, or the fact that you were able to finish the pipeline, that's cool. It's nice to see that you know the pipeline. Even presentation here, I think could work. Take a look at this one right here. Okay. It's an interesting concept. Definitely too dense on the head. So topology wise, that's a little bit too dense. And even there, I can see like there's some like extra bevels that you added on the sword, which are definitely not needed. Yeah, UVs, man. Your UVs are not helping you. and here's the thing. I already, I'm not sure if I mentioned this today, but here, my friends, I made this workshop for you. This is a free workshop. It's on the site again. I'm actually going to link it on the description right now for you guys to check it. So that right there is a free course, a free workshop where we talk about UVs, right? And one of the rules about UVs is we want to minimize the amount of cuts as much as possible. So here what you're doing is you're just adding way too many cuts. Like there's no need to have too many cuts. And look at all of the empty space that we have all around the different parts of the model. That's just not going to be helpful for the texturing process, right? So even though it's not necessarily a bad model, I do feel like we're not really utilizing the UVs to the best of our abilities. It's definitely better than the first one, so I would not take this one out. It's definitely better, but I still think that, yeah, it's not to the quality that we might need for a studio position. Why is subdividing so it's not that it's bad, it's just that usually when I'm dealing with hard surface elements, you don't want everything to be in a single mesh. That's a very common sort of like beginner mistake or beginner situation where they want to model everything from a single element, and you can see that's what Yamaha did right here. So every single piece of this guy, the turbines, the this guy, even this guy's right here, right? Everything is modeled from a single element, and you don't need that. You can have multiple elements, you can have multiple meshes. The problem with having everything from a single mesh is exactly this thing right here. See that right there? So because things are literally welded together, then textures are gonna sort of like bleed into each other, and you're gonna have this like very bad, ugly cuts. So there shouldn't be an issue with having multiple pieces for this thing. UVing the multiple pieces separately so that you have cleaner UVs, because as I mentioned, the UVs that we have with this little plane right now are not ideal. It's just better practice, right? So my rule of thumb is if you have an object that is made out of multiple parts in the real world, just make it out of multiple parts in the 3D world. That's it. So for instance, if you have a chair or like a table, right, and the legs of the table are usually different like meshes or different like pieces of wood, model them as different pieces of wood. You don't need to have like the whole table on the top and then just extrude the legs. You can have them as separate pieces, and it's gonna give you a very nice effect. How to import textured brush in 3D code? Well, you just import the alpha. You need to build a new alpha. There is a little thing about that. I might make a short about it. I'll make a short about that. Alan, can you write that down so we don't forget, because it actually is a little bit tricky, but it is possible, Samhi. It's just that it needs a specific configuration, and I tried it once, and it's a little bit cumbersome because you need to make sure that the alpha channel is not there. It's tricky, but I'll show you how to do it. It's not that difficult. It just requires a couple of extra steps. Okay, so Yama, let's see. Okay. So topology is okay. That's the kind of topology that we would expect for animation. That works. I still feel like some of the sculpting side of things are not there where they need to be, right? I still think you would really benefit from the UV course, my friend. I really think you would benefit from the UV course. I think you're adding way too many cuts in areas that we don't need and making it unnecessarily difficult for you. I don't think you're using automatic UVs. I just think you're adding too many cuts. So check the UV course, please. Like, if there's one thing I want you to do, is please watch this course right here. Again, it's free. It's almost 3 hours, but it's free, and it's gonna improve your 3D workflows, and that will, of course, help you with the what's the word? It will help you with the texturing side of things as well. Okay. Now, if you're going to be going for the stylized stuff, well, definitely study a little bit more about values and colors, as I've mentioned on some of the previous portfolios. And we got David here on the house. What's up, David? Hello to our good friend David. Let's see. Please help regarding clots. I want a detailed course on creating clot and marvelous, then retopo, sculpt, and texture. Any suggestions? I mean, not for me. I don't have a specific course where we do that. Let me see what I can do. Like I can't promise that we can do a course like soon, right? But we'll probably do that relatively soon, like a video on the channel or something. So the reason, that's a great question, Bacon Guy. So the reason why having too many cuts it's a problematic is because every single cut that you add, it's gonna make it more difficult for you to texture, right? So for instance, take a look at this character. We have her her dress right here, right? If we want to add a texture on that dress, like a cloth pattern or whatever, having all of these cuts is gonna make it so that the seams are very obvious. This dress, it's very easy to just cut one line on the top, right there where the shoulders are, one line on the side, and that's it. You're just gonna have front of the dress and back of the dress, and that's it. You're good to go. You don't need to add more cuts. It's gonna make it a lot better for your textures. It's just gonna avoid having any sort of like weird projections or anything, and it's gonna make it easier on the performance side of things. So in-game engines and even in render engines, every single UV cut that you add adds an extra vertex to the situation, because the engine needs to think about one side of the edge and another side of the edge. Even though they're both sharing the same point right there, it's actually there's two bits of information there that you need to utilize. It might not be an issue for a single character, but if every single asset in your production or in your game is following this sort of like processes where you're just adding unnecessary cuts, then what's going to happen is you are adding a lot of like extra calculations and extra CPU costs, right, when you don't need to. Boris says, I'm absolutely new to modeling, but I'm glad YouTube recommended your channel. You're welcome, my friend. Welcome, and welcome to this amazing community that we have here. Hi, Ave, a little question. How do you animate simulate haircuts for animation? Usually you rig them, so you add like actual bones, and then you can either add like a curve or something that dynamically moves with those curves, so the hair moves a little bit nicer, or you literally hand animate the haircuts. So it's usually with bones. You're not gonna simulate them like with physics and stuff. You simulate the physics will affect the bone chains or the joint chains, not necessarily the haircuts themselves. Quick question. For a portfolio piece for a character, art game character, what type of reference would be best to use? Like an established character? I recommend, yeah. So I've shown this before, right? So if you want to do a character, just go to ArtStation, right? Go to over here on the top part. There is one that they added a new... where is it? There's not like a character design. No, there's not one. Okay, that's fine. So I'll just, again, I'll go to ArtStation. You can go, I like going to trending because this is where you can find some more interesting effects. And then on the filters, I change this to 2D. And that way I'm only seeing usually 2D information, right? And then here, you just start looking for an interesting idea. I try to look for things that are a little bit more obscure, right? Like not something that everyone knows about, like not a very famous character, just so that your stuff is a little bit more unique and it sort of like stands out a little bit more. Now, my advice when looking for a, again, for a reference is make sure that the reference is very clear. A very common mistake that students make is they'll grab a reference that might look very, very cool, but it's very unclear. Like you don't see a lot of information, like for instance, this one right here, right? So this one, we don't have information about like the proper proportions of this gauntlet right here. We don't have information about the back. We don't see the legs, like the boots, right? So trying to do this right here is going to be very complicated because I'm going to have to come up with solutions for that kind of stuff. Same for something like this. Like this looks very cool, but again, it's a little bit too undefined in certain areas, so it might be difficult. Like what kind of material is this? Is this leather? Is this I don't know, is this denim? Like what kind of like fabric it is? It's just like a little bit too messy, especially for someone that's just learning. As you get more and more what's the word, like knowledgeable about the process, then doing something like that's not going to be too complicated. But especially when you're starting, I would recommend picking concepts that are a little bit more approachable. So let me show you. Yeah, something like this, right? Might not be the most original concept out there. Another thing that I recommend is always check the artist, because they might have more concepts that are a little bit more interesting, and pick a concept that it's a little bit clearer, right? That has more information and allows you to properly figure out all of the different elements. This one right here, it's great. We have a big pose right here. We know how many armor pieces she has. We know how things connect. Like it's very clear. So using a concept like this is a lot better. I have my own sort of like what's the word? I have my own like library of artists that I follow, and whenever I need to grab a concept, I tend to go to them. For instance, one of them is our good friend Labros Panosis. He is the one that provided the concept for the for the undead character course, right? Like this guy right here, and he's got some really good like information. As you can see, a lot of people use his concepts to do like stylized stuff. Where is Labros? Give me 1 second. Artists. There we go. So Labros is an amazing concept artist. He has worked on World of Warcraft. He's worked on I'm not sure if he's worked at Riot. I don't think so. But he's got like some really cool things, right? And literally, if you pick any of the characters from Labros, I can guarantee that you are gonna be able to do it quite nicely, because he's very clear on how he creates them, right? So for instance, this one right here, so cool, so freaking cool. And you have all of the information you need on this concept to be able to create the character, right? So it's one of those things that knowing how to pick the proper concept is very important. Do you have a course for foliage environment? No, I don't, but there will be one in the future. We will be doing an environment course in the future. Arman says, hey sir, how are you doing? I'm constantly with your work. All the good wishes for you. I have one question. I start to learn anatomy to learn character, and I'm stuck at it. I start with the head, but I can't execute the proportion and placement of flower marks. Yeah, so anatomy is one of those things that requires quite a bit of practice. As Sarn just linked right there, we do have an anatomy course. That one I made specifically for people who want to get better at anatomy, because it is one of those tricky situations. I personally like using the Loomis method, right? So the Loomis method for faces is very it's like a worldwide known method, and it's really good because you start with a sphere, sort of like taper the edges, start drawing your thirds, and then you just like keep building the general forms of the head. I like using this method when I'm blocking my information or my stuff. There's also the oh man, what was the other one? It's not Loomis, or was it Loomis? No, there's another one. I can't remember the name right now, but there's multiple methods. I personally think the Loomis one is one of the best ones to learn the basic information about the head. David J back with the donation. Thank you, my friend. Says, I'm working on your stylized ZBrush course. When I try and smooth out portions of the dragon skull, it flattens everything, even when I use a small size. Not sure what I'm doing wrong. Can you help? Yes, I can help. So that's an issue with the smooth brush. So the smooth brush is a very damaging brush, okay? It's a brush that just like removes the whole thing. No, it's not Bridgeman, David. I mean, he's got some nice proportions as well, but it's not Bridgeman. Here, let me see. We'll have something here on the quick save. Yeah, let's just this one, for instance. So this is an alien that we were working on the other day, right? Right now, I'm really high on polycount, so polycount is also going to be an issue, David, depending on how high it is. It's going to be a little bit more difficult or easier to remove something. But let's imagine we're like under 1 million polygons, right? And we want to smooth this. If we smooth, as you can see, boom, we lose everything, right? It just like flattens everything. It looks very mushy. It looks horrible. That's why I personally don't like smoothing as much. I only smooth when I really need to fix like a big area, and I know that I don't care if the information gets destroyed. Personally, I prefer using trim dynamic. Very softly, right? But trim dynamic allows me to just like remove all of that like messy effect without destroying or compromising the forms that I've already built. So it's a really good way to remove. Let's say, for instance, I want to remove this scar right here, right? A lot of people might go, oh, let me just smooth. But if I smooth, all of that area becomes like very, again, wonky. If I use trim dynamic instead, I can be a lot more specific on that area. Yes, I can use a little bit of smooth on certain areas, but that's going to allow me to preserve most of the form that I already built and keep that sort of like sharp looking effects on my character. Does that make sense? That's sort of like the idea behind trim dynamic. That's the way I like to do it. There's another thing that you can do. So if you go to Lightbox, not a lot of people know about this, and then you go to brushes, there are specific smooth brushes that behave a little bit differently. So for instance, we have smooth right here, and it's all of this ones right here. So smooth directional, we got smooth peaks, we got smooth valence, we got smooth strong, we got smooth groups. Again, there's a bunch of them that are very interesting. So for instance, smooth valleys is really interesting because what it does is now if I press shift, I got smooth valleys. And what smooth valleys will do is it will remove the valleys while trying to preserve the high points of the element. You know about that one, did you guys? So we have one for valleys and we have one for peaks. I don't usually use them, to be honest, but they're there if you want to. So as you can see, I can smooth, and it's only going to smooth the inside parts of the mesh, right? So it's going to try to preserve the peaks of the element. And if you want the other one, again, Lightbox, and then you go to Smooth Peaks right here, and it's the exact same thing, but it does the opposite function, right? So in this particular case, what it will do is it will figure out where the peaks are, and it will smooth those peaks while preserving or trying to preserve the form of the valleys. See that right there? So again, there you go. You got both smooth valleys and smooth peaks. They're a little bit hidden on the Lightbox, right? Here again in brushes, smooth brushes, but they're quite good. For very specific things, I think they're quite good. There you go, David. Yeah, glad that worked. Let's see. I've got a question about the contest. Recently, I read the books, The Song of Achilles, and I was wondering if it's okay to work out the character Achilles for the contest. From the image I had of him, yeah, you can, man. Achilles is perfectly fine. I just gotta warn you, the contest ends on Thursday, so you have literally 4 days. It's gonna be a tough one, but if you wanna go for it, man, go for it. Achilles is a good character. Which of you, this role do you think is more resistant to AI? We're gonna talk about AI later today. In the Wednesday video, I will be making a video about AI because we've been getting a lot of questions lately, and there's been some important developments on the AI side of things. So we'll talk about that. Okay? I don't wanna distract ourselves too much from the portfolio review right now. Demi Urjit says, I was following your tutorials on trim sheets with the Maya textures. I was wondering if I can use alphas in the same trim sheets like for the vines or grass, etc., and have seen people doing it, but never able to find how to do that. Yeah, you can. As long as they tile, you can do it. You would do it on the, inside of Substance though. Can I ask, does using RTX GPU affect the textures and how it looks, or just affect the handling of the textures? It just affects the handling of the textures. So it's gonna allow your computer to run faster, right? So it's gonna allow you to work more comfortably inside of Substance, and it's going to allow you to see things very, very nicely inside of what's the word? Inside of like Unreal, but yeah, it's good. Do you think Door's face is suitable for doing face rigging with advanced skeleton? Asking whether I should try it or if there are considerations. You can try it. I've tried doing cartoon faces with advanced skeleton. It does work, but it does not give you as clean of a control because it's advanced skeleton it's more suited for like traditional characters, but as long as you follow the proper edge loops of topology on the face, you will get a good result. Like you are going to be able to make him angry and open the eyes and things like that, as long as you have the proper topology. Okay, so now we're gonna go with Zwayam Sontake. Says, hey, hope you're doing well. I'm a student of game art and design who wants to be a 3D game environment artist, but I like game designing too. In my portfolio, you will find 2D work, environment design, props modeling, and level design. I work as a game designer in a group project where we have created the game. I was directing the art and designing the game. I got an opportunity in the studio's hand-painted 3D artist, but I failed in art test. I wasn't able to meet the requirements on given time. Now I'm confused a little bit. Should I go for a 3D environment artist or game designer? Let's take a look. And it says, what? If you want to see the trailer, see it in mute because of copyright music. Game trailer. Okay. We're going to skip it for now. Hopefully you have it here on the stuff. Nice. Okay. Have I not seen your stuff before? I feel like I've seen your stuff before. Really? I think I've seen your stuff before, because I remember this one. I think so. Pretty sure I remember this one. Yeah, so if I'm not sure if I've seen your stuff before, and I'm pretty sure I have, because I have a faint memory of something like this. The one thing about this one is, I did see it 1 year ago. There you go. Yeah. So I've mentioned this before. I'm not gonna mention it again, but just the textures. The textures here are the ones that are like not fully integrated. Like the grain is just like way too overwhelming for something like this. But I'm gonna focus on the hand-painted stuff instead. So one funny thing about this one right here is I think you're following Aisu Hoskan's tutorials, or not tutorials. I'm not sure if she's doing tutorials, but she's doing some like studies as well. Here's what I'm gonna tell you, man. Don't do that. Don't do that, because you are copying someone that has already done something really good. For those of you that are unaware of who Aisun Hoskan is, she's also an artist. She's also submitted to a portfolio review, and she's been doing this kind of like studies right here, right? So she did, for instance, this table, this like this guy. See, so this guy right here, it's exactly the same as this one right here. But let's be honest. Let's be very objective. And again, I don't want to take this against you. It's not a critique of your worth as an artist. But of course, her stuff is gonna look super highly polished because she's really good at this particular style, and you are just learning the style, so it's not gonna look this polished. So what's gonna happen? People who know her, and a lot of people know her because she's been like posting a lot of stuff, will be like, oh, this is like what Aisu did, but it's not up to the level. So you're just shooting yourself in the foot, because you're giving yourself up for comparison, right? Like people are going to compare your work to hers. And because we're not at her level yet, which doesn't mean that you can't get to her level, you can definitely get to her level, but because you're not there yet, people are just going to be very dismissive of what you're doing because it doesn't look like hers, right? So what would be my advice? If you want to do this for yourself, like on your own, without sharing this to the world, do it. And then once you've done this, do your own version, right? So for instance, if I look for flag study drawing, right? You're going to find a photograph. You can find photographs of a flag, right? Very pretty. So you can find photographs of a flag, let's say something like this, right? Do this, like grab this as a reference and do this so that you now have your own version. So the exact same thing you did with this one, practicing where the light is, where the shadow is, all that kind of stuff. Just do that, but don't follow exactly what Aisu did. Do your own version of it. That's how you're gonna separate yourself from the source, in this case, from the place where you learn some of the techniques, and you're gonna show people, hey, I can do it on my own. I can think on my own, right? That's very, very important. I feel like you have a good understanding of the production pipeline, right? Like you have like a good understanding of the texturing and stuff. I'm really not concerned, but curious about why, and if you want to share it, feel free to do that. Why did you not meet the time criteria? Like, I'm not sure if they gave you like a very low amount of time, or if you just like underestimated how complicated something was going to be. Because, for instance, this one right here, this is pretty cool. I think you did a good job here on the construction of the values, like that texturing right there. That looks pretty cool. I like it. I think you understand the principles behind it. So I'm a little bit curious about why you weren't able to land that internship. Now, don't worry too much as well. Like, I will tell you, if you didn't land that, that's fine. Like, there's going to be more opportunities in the future, right? But it's important to really analyze what happened. Like, whenever you fail or you miss a deadline or something, it's very, very important that you what's the word? It's very important that you do a little bit of self-reflection and ask yourself, okay, what could have I done better in order to avoid this situation? I'm gonna share something with you. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I had a mentorship with a student, and we had a great session. We talked about, actually, we were talking about hand painted stuff and whatever. And then we stopped the session, or we finished the session, and he went on his way, right? We planned ahead for another session. He sent me a message on Discord. He sent me a message asking about a specific question. And I made the mistake of assuming that we were going to be making that or answering that question during the next session, right? So when the next session was approaching, I sent him a message like, hey, my friend, like, next session is approaching. I'm ready to talk about that question that you have. And it's like, oh, no, you know what? Like, I don't think we're going to be like a great match, because I want to be able to communicate a little bit like more frequently with you while we're working on our sessions. And I don't want to wait until the next session. I want to answer some quick questions in the meantime. It's like, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. Like, that was my bad. I made a mistake. I made an assumption, which assumptions are very dangerous. I made an assumption that he wanted to wait until the next session instead of like immediately, right? And I apologized. And very importantly, after you do that self-reflection and figure out, oh, I messed this up, you always need to do the next step, which is, okay, how do I make this up, right? How do I make this right? And I talked to him. I said, hey, I understand perfectly. If you don't want to continue, I completely understand, but give me a chance. Let's do one more session. Let's keep the communication open, and let's see if we can continue working with this new approach, right? And we did. We've been working together for like the past 4 weeks, and it's been amazing. So it's just a matter of being very conscious about when you mess up, because you will mess up. We're humans, right? Like, we all mess up. Everyone messes up. So when you mess up, it's very important that you quickly identify how you messed up and you make up for it. You fix that mistake and you don't make that mistake again. That's how we grow. Okay, Let's Talk says, can you answer my second question? Should I focus then on CUDA course or the VRAM size? Both of them are important, man. It's up to your budget. Like, if you tell me what budget you have right now to buy a graphics card, I can give you something. I would recommend like the 5070 or the 5060 even. 5080, of course, if you can afford it. 4070, like at this point, I'm gonna be honest, Let's Talk 2018. If you're just starting out, having more or less CUDA cores, having more or less VRAM is not gonna make you a better artist. It's going to make the workflow a little bit easier to work with, but it's not going to make you a better artist. So focus on being a better artist first. I didn't got time to add details. Okay, so that was a time management issue, right, Sam? Like, you probably were not as fast as you might want, and that's one of the skills that you might need to develop, right, going forward, like trying to work on that. Now, if you ask me what should you be focusing on, you have some good, strong foundations for the hand-painted side of things. Level design also looks quite interesting. This looks quite fun. So if you are enjoying the hand-painted stuff, and because I see that you've been doing quite a bit of hand-painted for a while now, I would probably encourage you to keep doing that. It's absolutely fine. It's not his fault. In India, every institute just told students to see a tutorial and copy it. They don't say to explore on your own. Okay. Now, my question here for you, the coup power, is when you are being told that, do you know that that's wrong? Like, do you know that that's not ideal? And you still follow that instruction, even though you know that that not be the most ideal way to do it? Because if you do, then you also share a little bit of the blame, right? I'm telling you right now, it's fine if you follow a tutorial. It's not necessarily great to have it on your art station. What you should do is think of your own or explore on your own for a while. Okay, so it's we need to be responsible of our own decisions as well. It's like the famous quote, right? Like, if someone tells you to jump out of a bridge, are you gonna do it just because they tell you to? No. Well, if you're going to an institute, of course you want to trust your teachers. But if the teacher is saying something that you don't necessarily agree, well, you might need to make other decisions, right? Like, what I would do, and again, this is my personal experience, when I was in school and the teachers were giving us some homeworks that I thought were not ideal or like were not getting me to where I wanted to be, I would do the homework exactly the way my teachers asked for, because that was the order, right? Like, I need to show that I can follow instructions. But then on the side, I would keep researching and learning and exploring things that I, that I wanted to learn about and I wanted to explore. So you fulfill the instruction so that you're completely free there. Like, you don't want to be a problematic or chaotic student, but you still explore it on your own. Like, no one's like grabbing your hand and making you do something, right? So yeah. As a beginner, how much I might have to grind to get a job or make a living out of doing 3D? I love it, but I'm a bit scared right now. You need to grind a lot. It is a hard career. Like, it's not for someone, I don't want to say weak, right? But it's not for someone who wants things to be done fast. You need to be able to under. Here's the thing. I'm gonna go full camera. So this is not something that only happens with our industry, right? In the world, there are two types of careers: the careers that everyone wants to do, and the careers that no one wants to do. If I ask you guys right now, hey, would you be willing to learn how to be, let's say, a garbage disposal like employee? Like, you're gonna be making sure that garbage is disposed properly in your city, and you're gonna be in charge of that, which is a very important job, by the way. But most people are gonna say, no, I don't want to do that. Do you want to be a sewage cleaning like staff? Do you want to be doing I don't know, like all of this like horrible or nasty jobs that people don't want to do, right? Like, there's a lot of jobs in the world that people don't want to do, and usually they're actually paid fairly nicely, right? Why? Because no one wants to do them. So again, supply demand. The jobs that we pick, the art side of things, that's the jobs that everyone would like to do. At least that's what they say, right? But everyone wants to be a painter. Everyone wants to be in a rock band. Everyone wants to be a movie actor or like, I don't know, like a chef or things like that, right? Those are careers that are very sought after. Because everyone wants to do that, then the competition is like stupidly high. The good thing is that because a lot of people want to do that and they don't have the discipline, the energy, or the mindset to actually like follow through, if you are able to follow through, the odds of you making it are really good. And I'm gonna say something that's gonna be very controversial right now. Right now, here on this chat and in this stream, I know there's people watching who have not really put in the bare minimum to become like a good 3D artist, and they're complaining about like not landing a job in the industry. Like, no one has complained about that right now, but they might be thinking, oh, I've done this for like 3 months, I can't believe Disney hasn't called me. Like, dude, you're just delusional at that point. Okay, so you need to have the mindset. A lot of people nowadays, they're very lazy. We tend, I include myself, sometimes we're very lazy. We have very short attention spans, right? So you need to understand that yes, there is a high amount of effort and energy that you need to put into this particular career in order to make it. Is it possible to make it? Yes. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here. A lot of my peers wouldn't be here. A lot of the amazing productions that we enjoy every single year wouldn't be here, right? So it is possible to make it. Are we in chaotic times? Yes. That's also, of course, a situation that's happening right now. But there is a minimum requirement that you need to put into this in order to be able to make a living out of it. So don't what's the word, don't expect the world to hand you the things or the result just because you deserve it. No one deserves anything, right? So it's about like really putting in the work, understanding, seeing how the world is moving, and trying to make the best decisions to get you the best odds. The way I like to put this is every time you do the work, every time you finish an assignment, every time you post a picture or a good portfolio piece on your site, every single time you do something that moves you forward, it's like buying a lottery ticket, right? It's like buying a lottery ticket and hoping that you win the lottery of getting into the industry, of making this, of making a living out of being a 3D artist. So it is important that you understand that if you don't do that, like if you spend the whole day just like playing League of Legends and then you complain about not getting a job, it's like, dude, well, I'm not gonna be able to help you there. Some senior art copy thing and they make it what? Are lagging? I don't understand that question, that cool. Let's see. How do you deal with eye strain with all the screen time? I don't suffer from that, to be honest, my friend, dry eye guy. I don't really suffer from that, but I would recommend like rests every like hour or 2 hours, just like 5 minutes away from your computer, go to the bathroom, go get a glass of water, things like that. I don't use like any special like glasses or anything. I just have 2 screens. I'm not sure. I don't really do that as much. Thanks, Abe. You really helped me clear my mind. You're welcome, my friend. And again, this is another thing that I like to give you guys as a point of comparison, because we tend to be very dramatic, right? As artists, we tend to be very dramatic. It's like, oh, no one's hiring me, and there's no opportunities in this world. How do you think people who are starting their own band feel right now? How do you think people who want to make it into Hollywood feel right now? How do you think people who want to work at the top like restaurants in the world, like chefs, feel like, right? So every single profession, creative profession out there, most of the creative professions out there go through the same struggles that we do. Who are the ones that actually make it? The ones that put in the work. Yes, there's connections. Yes, there's a little bit of luck involved. There's a bunch of other factors. But the one thing that you're in control of is how much work and how much you perfect your craft, right? So if that's the only variable that you can control, go full on that, right? Like go full on that, because otherwise, well, it's going to be very, very difficult. Back to the previous, how do we find a mentor? You can just like reach out to someone. Like for instance, if you reach out to me and you want me to be your mentor, I can give you the information. And if you find my style to be what you are looking for, well, there you go. But yeah, just reach out to someone. Not everyone has available time to be mentors. Not everyone has the skills to mentor someone. That's another sort of like skill that you need to develop, that I've been developing for several years now. But yeah, you can just enroll in a class. There's a bunch of different ways. Where can I see the one-on-one mentorship and how much Pop-Tarts can I pay you with? No, I don't accept Pop-Tarts as payment, because otherwise I'm gonna get really, really, really fat, and that wouldn't be good for my health. You can send me a message on Discord. Send me a DM on Discord and I'll share the information with you. I don't have as many spots right now available, to be honest, so send me a message and I can give you a little bit more information. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is ETNKT, says, Nikita. Hi, my name is Nikita. I'm 17 years old. I'm from Ukraine. For the past year and a half, I've been studying 3D modeling. Earlier this year, I completed a 3D modeling course. I really enjoy creating props and environments. Recently, I joined an indie studio as an unpaid 3D environment artist to gain practical experience. That's great. And now I'm looking for a paid position as a 3D artist. My main focus is realism, but I'm also very interested in stylized art. My goal is to work with major outsourced studios like Room 8 or Art Bully. Do you think it's possible to find a job with a portfolio like mine? Let's take a look. So what Nikita here is doing is very interesting. And I've mentioned this before. It's not an ideal situation. It's not an ideal situation. I don't like giving out this advice. But if you have a strong family support and you can afford to, as Nikita here is doing, going to a mentorship at a small studio or an indie studio, even if you're not getting paid, that experience alone can really, really help you out. It's not ideal. Ideally, you want every single part of the pipeline to be paid and to be accounted for. I understand, but it's a big advantage that you can get if you can afford it. I know not everyone can afford it. It's a big privilege to be able to work for free, right, at the studio, but it's gonna give you some nice tools, and it's gonna give you connections. It's gonna give you a lot of value. So it's yeah, if you can afford to do again a free internship, and it's not gonna affect you. Like if you don't have anyone to support, like you're not married, you don't have kids and stuff like that, it could be a good road to get your foot on the door. As someone is saying, yes, the render is a little bit dark. I think it's the illumination, like the main light. It's really good though, man. Like this is really nice. You have a lot of stuff in here. The one thing that I would like to see is wireframes, especially if you want to be a part of a game company. Seeing how you optimized all of these things will be very, very important. So I would strongly recommend that you included some wireframes or some breakdowns for some of the objects. I don't see too much texture variation, like maybe we're missing a little bit of like scratches or dirt or something like that on some of the assets. I'm curious on how you handle some of the assets, because for instance, this table here on the center that has a lot of like very, very intricate details. I'm wondering if you modeled that, or if you, what's the word? Or if you just downloaded that asset, right? Like it's important that you disclaim whether or not you did absolutely every single model, because there's a lot of really, again, intricate models. I'm a little bit worried, again, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just a little bit worried that you could have just gone online and downloaded a bunch of assets and created that scene. It's not bad to do that, but then at that point, you're not showcasing a modeling and texturing portfolio. You're showcasing more like a presentation, rendering, compositing thing, right? So, for instance, I'm not sure if you went here and just downloaded a bunch of assets from this site and build a little scene, which again, it's not wrong, but you do need to disclaim it, okay? Because if you show me this, and you did absolutely every single asset in this scene, every texture, every model, every sculpt, everything, to me, you would be like perfectly ready to join the studio, because you're already showing a good mastery of all of the tools. However, if that's not the case, then I do need to know what you actually did, okay? Take a look at this one. Yeah, so that's why it makes me like question, right, things a little bit, because now I see the statue that looks very sort of like junior level, very sort of like entry level for some modeling stuff. Like there's things that I don't love. Same thing for the textures. It just looked like a triplanar texture all over the place, and that now makes me question how much of the previous model you actually did. Does that make sense? So I don't like this piece, to be honest, because of that. It's the textures that just look like they're slapped on top of every single element. It even seems like there's some like displacement map going on. I don't love the statue. I feel like the candles also look very sort of like simple, just like cylinders. So I might take that one out, to be honest. And now this one's a little bit better. Oh, sorry, this one's a little bit better. What was that? Oh god, it was like a hiccup and that stuff. So this one right here is a lot better. I like it. It shows that you're like learning modeling and stuff like that. Texturing could use a little bit of work, but it's mostly presentation. So the problem with this is the presentation is very flat, right? There's just like, it seems like we just have like a very basic light hitting everything like from all over, like a general light, like an ambient light, like a skylight. And the same way I just showed you guys earlier that we have the UV workshop. I did another workshop for everyone. I'm going to link it real quick here on the chats as well. It's this one right here. Right? So this is a course specifically about presentation, specifically for portfolio, where I show you how to do the different like breakdowns and things like that so that your portfolio looks a little bit better. So I would recommend doing that for this one, Nikita, because again, I need to see a wireframe. UVs are fine. Again, we can definitely optimize a couple of elements. It kind of looks like you're doing planar mappings or something like that. No, it's actually not that bad. Yeah, UVs. Okay, no, I take that back. You are actually including all of the information. Yeah, so the only thing is the illumination. Like I would do a beauty render. Like here is where you can include, for instance, one of the tables from your previous projects and just have this thing sitting on top of the table. Like make it seem like it's part of a scene and not just like floating here on the on a vacuum, right? Let's see. Why should I work as an intern at a small studio? Wouldn't I improve more if we just practiced at home instead, Abe? Not necessarily, my friend, not necessarily. So the advantage of working as an intern in a studio is, first of all, you're gonna have experience. So you know how every single recruiter is asking for experience nowadays. So now you will be able to say, hey, I have experience. Second, you will get to know how the pipeline works, because it's not the same to be working on a project on your own, on your home, where you have all the time in the world. You can organize the files however you want. You can like work on specific parts of the process whenever you feel like it. Then it is to work in a pipeline where they expect you to be doing something specifically at a specific point in time. So you will learn that. And probably the most important reason why being an intern is better than working at home is because you will be getting connections, right? Like you will get to know people. So yeah, It's gonna allow you to meet people. It's gonna allow you to grow your network. People are gonna know you. You might not get hired there, but later down the line, you might have another experience. I'm gonna give you an example here. So, you know our friend Edfox, right? So Eduardo Dominguez, he's a concept artist here from Mexico. He's got some really cool things in case you guys want to follow him. And I met him at my first job, at my first like industry job, let's say, back in 2011 at CGBot. And when I met him, like I just saw his stuff and I really liked it. I was like, I stayed in touch, but we didn't work together or we didn't collaborate until like 10 years later. So 10 years later, after I met him there, I was like, hey, dude, I need a concept artist. I would like you to be the concept artist for something that I'm working on. And he was like, sure, I'll do it. And we worked together, right? So that's how connections work. Like they might not give you the result or the work or the job right away, but you never know when someone you meet at a specific company or a specific place might actually help you in the future. Dito Mega, no, so the portfolio review streams are not saved. We re-upload them on our second channel. David, if you're still there and you could link the second channel for people to join, that would be great. And the reason why we do that is because we give each specific portfolio its own video, so that hopefully that gives them a little bit more spotlight, right? Like people are going to be able to specifically look for them. So when people look their name up on Google, for instance, there's going to be a specific video about their portfolio. So it's a good way to give more people the spotlight. Let's see. I have a question that's off topic, but about the contest. Is it okay to use a bit of aggression in the final render, like a severed heel of a monster? Yes, but try to keep the gore relatively minimal. Okay, so not like don't include all of like the throat and blood dripping out. Like try to keep it relatively simple, so not too intense. Let's see. Yeah, right. I haven't gotten a monster in a while. That'll be great right now. He weighed you 10 years, man. Yeah, right? Any tips on what I should focus on? I currently did a 3-month remodeling section with 0 experience for my capstone, and currently I'm learning how to sculpt, texture, and retopology at the same time. That's a good process, man. Like, I will tell you to focus on that. 3 months is very little time to know if this is what you really want. So if you're enjoying the process, just keep learning the tools. Try doing some fun projects. Try doing something that you resonate with. And then later on, you can start like focusing on the specific skills that you might need to be hired. Okay, cool. Let's go to the next one. Next one is, you guys have some really difficult names to pronounce sometimes. Ksenia Chappelle from Ukraine. Currently, I live and study in Germany. I'm a 2D, 3D character artist and soon to be graduated master students in game arts. Nice. I'm a student job as a 3D character artist right now, but it's only for a few months. Soon I will be searching for a new one. I started as a 2D artist, but now my main focus is stylized 3D characters. Lately, I've been doing a lot of hand painting exercise. Really love the process and result. I have a special question to you. Recently, I started having an art crisis because even though I'm focused on 3D now, at the same time, I really miss 2D art. I don't draw that often right now because of the studies, work, and other stuff, but do you think it will be possible to balance both 2D and 3D in my career later? Or I must choose one focus? For now, I want to be a general artist doing 2D and 3D characters and illustrations, but I have doubts about this choice because I've heard studios prefer specialized. Yeah, so that's a great question, Ksenia. And I can see your portfolio is really good already. You got some really cool stuff here. Let's look at this. Nice. A little bit of an issue with the values. We talked about that, right? Like the further down we go, we want to reduce the contrast a little bit. So I feel like the shadows here are a little bit too intense. But I love what you did with the metals, the face. Yeah, the fact that you rigged this character, really cool. Really nice. This is a good character right here for portfolio stuff. This one's also pretty nice. Seems to me that you are using normal map information. How do I know that? Because light, as you can see, is affecting the element, so it's not like completely hand-painted stuff. There's a little bit of normal map information. This is really good, man. Yeah, this is the kind of stuff that we see in games now. And not necessarily just indie games, by the way. Like this quality right here, it's already getting into the small studios, right? So Pioneers of Pagonia. And the fact that this is actually shipping with the game, that's super valuable for your portfolio as well. This is 2D art, it seems. Promo art, nice. Oh, you have some really good skills in painting as well. Okay, so I'm gonna give you an advice here, my friend. It is not common for a 3D artist that's going through the full production pipeline to be doing 2D concept as well. So So if you really want to do the full 3D pipeline, right, like sculpting, retopology, texturing, rendering, all that kind of stuff, then I would strongly recommend you stick with 3D character art and still do 2D when you can, right, as fun. Like, you never know when something like that can help you, right, in your career, as we were mentioning, but stick with that kind of stuff. The one place where you could incorporate a little bit of this, and I'm gonna show you, who do we show? I think Morantz is a good reference. So Jared S. Morantz, I actually took a class with him when I was at Nomad. An amazing artist, like freaking, like one of the top ones in the industry. So Jared is a concept artist. Sorry. So he's mostly a concept artist, a designer, but he knows the pipeline, right? So if you take a look at his portfolio, one of the things that you're gonna see is that he will be doing a lot of like 2D stuff, like this sketches. Look at this, right? Like amazing sketches. This is 2D stuff that he's doing, but he also knows how to transfer that information into 3D, but usually as concept pieces. So most of the pieces that you're gonna see in someone's portfolio when they're like concept artists or illustrators or things like that is pieces that look very finished, but then they might not be ready for the pipeline, right? So they might not have like proper topology, or they might not have like proper UVs or things like that. They use other tricks. They use things like polypaint. They use things like photo bashing. They use things like kit bashing, right? So there's multiple elements. Sometimes people will use their 3D models and then retopologize them and prepare them for like the actual production, but it's not always the case, right? So Morantz here is an excellent example of someone who fits the question that you were asking about, someone who does 2D stuff to a really good level, to a really good detail, right? Like, as you can see, his illustration right here is really nice, like the exploration and everything, but he also has like amazing knowledge about the 3D pipeline, right? So he can do 3D models for the characters as well. If this is a route that you want to pursue, I can tell you it is a very fun one. I'm not one of them, right? Like, I'm not a concept artist myself, but it's not someone who's going to take the piece and push it through the full pipeline. You're still going to be on the pre-production side of things mostly, okay? But it is like this will be like the hybrid option that you're asking for, okay? Can I make level design and 3D art portfolio at the same time? Yeah, you can. You're not going to be hired for both of them. It's similar to what I just talked about here to Xenia, right? So if you have level design and 3D art portfolio, when you apply to a studio, they're not going to hire you to do both things. Can they ask for an opinion if you're doing one of the other? Sure, but usually you're going to be hired for one specific position. How do you get better at retopology and keeping the wireframe smooth? By studying retopology. There's no other way around it. If you want, we have this one right here, which is the complete guide to retopology. And here I show you all of my tips, tricks, and sort of like thought processes behind how I approach different like retopology challenges. But the only way you get good at something is by doing it and practicing a lot. There's no secret to art in that sense, man. Hey, Abe, I sent my portfolio on Discord while it's open, but I cannot see it right now. Merc. We do a little bit of filtering. Did you submit recently, or did you forget to add like the message, or did you what's the word, or did you not meet one of the criteria that we have here? Like, if you just started learning 3D, then your portfolio might have been filtered out. I'm not sure, because right now we're just missing Ronmi, Tony, and Laura for the final portfolios here on the review. Game Art Insider says, "Hi Abe, I'm a 3D artist having 10 years of experience in mobile games. I want to transition to AAA games. Any specific advice on how should I proceed?" In my opinion, the big difference between AAA games and mobile games is the quality of the work. So again, I would need to see your portfolio, Game Art Insider. But one thing, unfortunately, that I see a lot of 3D mobile portfolios is that the kind of stuff that they do is like this kind of stuff, right? Like very simple, very basic, like models and elements, right? Like things that are like just way too. I mean, they're fine. They're fun. It's fun to build this kind of stuff. But if you have this kind of stuff and then you want to transition into, let's say, World of Warcraft, well, you need to take a look at what the level in World of Warcraft is, and you need to start getting closer to that quality. So usually, in your case, it's not going to be an issue between the actual technical knowledge of the process. Like, you probably already know all of the technical things about modeling, texturing, UVs, that kind of stuff. It's going to be about the quality of the pieces. Like, you need to make sure that your portfolio shows that you can perform at the quality that they need you to perform, right? So that would be my advice for you. Again, if you want, you can submit your portfolio next month, and I'll be reviewing it. How to improve my texturing skills? For that one, you probably want to check the Substance Painter from beginner to master. So this one is the one that we talked about, or that we used to teach all of the things about texturing, substance texturing. If you want to do hand painted stuff, well, we have the hand painted course. Laura, we're gonna get to your portfolio very, very soon. I'm debating lately between 3D characters for games and animation, or 3D characters for 3D printing. Can I do both in my portfolio, or is it better to have two different portfolios? So you can definitely have both in your portfolio, but I'm gonna be very honest with you, Laura. I would not. Let me clear my mind. If someone comes to me right now and says, I want to become a 3D artist for 3D printing, I would just tell them, hey, just be careful, because that's one of the things that AI is just going to completely destroy that industry. Like, anyone without any freaking modeling skills can go online right now, prompt freaking the Hulk beating Spider-Man, get the super high poly asset. It's horrible topology, right? Like for games and other things, but you can get like the sculpt ready. Some of the softwares that I've seen, they even include like the cuts now for the parts, so it's easier to print. So you're going to be fighting against a technology that's just going to like make it very, very, very difficult for you. Can you still become like, can you still do it? Sure. Like there's never going to be a surplus, as I say, and as Gary Vee says, actually, there's never going to be a surplus of quality stuff, but you're going to have to be fighting against that, right? I don't want to, oh man, I don't want to do it. I'm not going to do it because out of principle, I don't want to show you right now what this like models are doing. But the point is, if you can't like get to that level and surpass it, then it's going to be very, very tricky to fight against that wave. Like people are just going to, again, like offer their services for like $5 and give you like exactly the sculpt that you want for 3D printing. And that's why I don't think it's the best idea to pursue that as your main like source of income, if that makes sense. Okay. Let's go with Ronme. It says, hi, my name is Ronme. For the last few years, I've been working as a freelance 3D artist, creating characters and props for small indie game studios and animation projects. I'm currently trying to transition into a full-time position at a larger studio. While I can usually find work with smaller indie teams, I rarely make it past the first portfolio review stage when applying to bigger companies. Most of the time, I receive the standard, we decided to move forward, and yeah. I know some of my portfolio pieces are getting old, but I'd love to get your honest opinion. What is currently holding my portfolio back? What skills, types of projects, or portfolio pieces would I need to show? Unfortunately, a lot of my recent production work is under NDA. That's very common. And some of the animation I worked on are no longer publicly available. Some of okay, let's take a look. Okay, interesting. Yeah, as you mentioned, some of these ones are a little bit on the older side of things. I do feel that sculpting wise, we're missing a little bit of definition on the forms, especially like the pants, for instance. They look very bulky without really having, or yeah, it's not exactly what we might expect to see right there. I see that you have a good understanding of the principles of the world, of the 3D world, like proper topology, proper edge loops, UVs, stuff like that. Oh man, I'm gonna be completely honest, man. I just think that the designs on these guys are really bad. Like, I don't like them. And I know it's not your fault. Like, I know you probably were following someone else's design. I just think that they're, like, I don't know. I don't like them. I really, really, really don't like them. This one's a little bit more interesting. This gorilla guy right here, I find a little bit more interesting. I still feel like some of the elements, like for instance, that shoulder pad right there, it's looking just too soft. If it's supposed to be stone, we want to see harder edges, like maybe a stronger silhouette. It's, oh man, it's a tough one right here. So I think right now, the thing that might be holding you back in terms of your portfolio is the choice of projects, right? Again, like the projects that you're showcasing right here, I don't like them. They look like they were designed by a committee, right? Like it's just like everyone approved this, but no one actually asked themselves, is this like the right proportions that we want? Is this the right height, the right colors? And again, technically speaking, you're executing things to the best of your abilities, which is perfectly fine. Like I can see that these are working, and the fact that they're from a game that's awesome. I think you would benefit quite a bit from having pieces that you picked. Like this is where your own pieces, like picking a concept for yourself and then executing it to a really, really high level can open up more doors for you, because you already have the evidence that you know how to work in a pipeline because you've shipped all of these things right here, which is great. But now you need to show that you can also do something that looks very cool. I don't think any of the pieces right now are giving me that like really cool vibe, right? So let me look for like a quick concept here. For instance, soccer player stylized concept art. I'm sure we're gonna find some really bad like AI stuff as well. There's some, like, for instance, I mean, it's not exactly it. This one also feels a little bit weird. There you go. Right? So imagine you did a character with this style, which is very sort of like Marvel Rivals style, right? Like very, very interesting, very intense, or even something like this, right? So this kind of stuff, I think would feel really, really good in your portfolio right now, because most of these ones right here, they do read as basic, generic, mobile game kind of stuff. And that might be what is hurting your portfolio, unfortunately. So if you could, like, this is the moment where I would tell you, if you can spend at least a couple of hours every day working on a piece that's going to be a piece for your portfolio, that's going to make it stand out and be like, oh, that's a very cool piece, I feel like that's going to be the best decision for you. Let's see. AI already destroyed concept art and illustration in India, so that's my reason for learning 3D after working as a concept artist and illustrator for 5 years. Yeah. Again, I'm going to talk about that on Wednesday, because it's a conversation we need to have. I know AI is destroying a lot of jobs right now, everywhere in the world, right? It's not going to be like that forever. Those jobs, I can promise you guys, those jobs are going to come back. They might not come back exactly the way we were used to, right? It's going to be a difference, but people will very soon, and I'm not saying very soon, like next week, right? It's going to take several years probably, but they will realize how bad using AI for the creative stuff is, because it gives you no identity, it gives you no brand, it gives you no distinctive characteristic. You end up with something that looks exactly the same as everyone else, and it just looks bad. So when people realize that, they will understand that we need to use artists to bring back that creativity. The bubble already popped. It's just taking, yeah, exactly. It's gonna pop, man. Like, this thing is gonna pop. Like, it's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. Let's see. I think AI is very good concept character to model. I think it's useful, you know, how sculpting to repair models. Yeah. Hey, Abe, I want to learn to create a semi-realistic character model, but I can't do sculpting since I don't have money for it. Is it possible on just 3D modeling than sculpting? Why do you mean you don't have money for it? You mean you don't have money? Like, you can sculpt in Blender, man. What are you... What are you saying? So just open Blender, and then just grab the cube, and then you just go to sculpting, and then we do a remesh here, right? And you can start sculpting, man. Like, I don't see what the cost here is. There's no cost here. There's absolutely no cost. You can just start sculpting. Oh, 0.001. That too much? Hopefully it doesn't crash. I think that might be too much. Kill it before anything. Okay, there you go. Yeah, so there you go. Oh yeah, it's 24 millions. Okay. So there you go. 24 million polygons I'm sculpting right now here inside of Blender. And even if you have a low-end computer, you're still going to be able to sculpt. So you're using, but Blender is free, man. If you want to learn sculpting, you can just download Blender, and there you go. Just do this. You can start sculpting here. The only thing you're going to need is tablet. I do recommend you get a tablet. Tablet's going to make the whole thing a lot easier for you, but you don't need to pay for ZBrush. I love paying for ZBrush. I'm a huge ZBrush fan. I would pay for ZBrush. I will pay for ZBrush for a long time. I know some people don't agree with that, but I just love the software, so yeah. Let's see. I'm super noob at ZBrush, but it's giving me the exact same joy that Bob Ross gets from painting. Exactly. One thing that has become clear is how strongly people dislike AI in general. Sure, it has places where it's accepted and even useful, but overall people hate it everywhere. That's not a sentiment that's going to go away anytime soon. See, you know what thing I've been hating lately about AI? Banners. Like, have you seen everyone is doing this AI banners for like business? Like, let's see, like this kind of stuff, right? Every single store, every single like business is doing this kind of banners for their media, for the social media. I hate looking for a restaurant and seeing banners like this. I was like, oh my god, like come on guys, like at least try, right? At least use Canva, which is free, and I know people hate it, but it at least shows that you care about your business. Yeah, thumbnails and everything. It's just horrible. It's just horrible. So nowadays, if I see a business using AI or logos, oh man, like AI logos, they're so bad, right? AI logos, like for instance, I don't know, booth, right? Everyone is doing this kind of stuff. Every single, like this, like super high contrast, this or like cross-hatching technique, like this stuff right here. It's so freaking bad, right? So freaking bad. Exactly. I do that as well, Hitman Penguin. Like if I see a business and they're using a logo done with like AI, the chances of me consuming or buying from them go like really, really low. Unless I really need their product, I'll just look for an alternative, because I know that they don't care about their business as much. it gives me a lot of information about the business, right? So yeah. Anyway, so my friend Ronme, definitely do a project on your own. Like pick whatever character, concept, or thing that you want and show us that you can do amazing things, and you're not going to be constrained by a concept that was not your choice and might not be as cool. Okay, so let's go to the next one. This is Tony. Says, hi, my name is Ranjit. I'm a 3D artist with specialization in effects. I use Maya, Substance Painter, Houdini, and Leal for most of my CG art. Currently, I'm working to improve my 3D art, aiming for 3D general in films and games. Let's take a look. Effects. Oh, interesting. Okay, so I'm not an effects artist. I'm gonna preface this by saying I'm not an effects artist, so I'm not gonna be able to give you as much feedback there. But let's take a look at this. This one's a really good model. I like it. Some of the wrinkles look a little bit lumpy. The model in general looks good, like that one. This one definitely doesn't look as good. and this is the tricky thing, right? Like character art is tricky, guys. Like I know everyone wants to be a character artist. Well, not everyone, but a lot of people want to be character artists. It's not easy to be a character artist. It does take a lot of like information to be able to do it. Goblin shit says pirate thing. No, don't pirate. I've mentioned why I don't like piracy. And the reason why I don't like piracy, especially when you mention things like this, is because that to me feels very hypocritical, Goblin, right? Because here's the thing. I'm already giving you an option. I'm telling you, if you don't want to pay for ZBrush because you don't agree with their business practices or whatever, there's Blender, Sculpting Blender. It's free, right? But no, you want to use ZBrush. You want to use the tools. You want to use some of the options and some of like the performance things that they have, right? So you want to do it without paying the price. That's hypocritical, in my opinion. So if you don't want to pay for it, that's fine. Don't pay for it, but use the alternative. Because pirating, that's stealing. It's stealing. However you want to see it, that's just steal it. Let's see. Cloud simulation. Kimono. Nice. Is this marvelous? I'm guessing it's marvelous, right? I think the textures on the kimono look very bad. But yeah. This is good, man. There's a weird bundling happening on the arms, though. I'm not sure what's happening. I'm not sure if you pinned that right there. Feels a little bit weird. Sci-Fi Power Soul. Be very careful here with the metal edgeware. Metal edgeware is one of the things that I strongly recommend you be careful about. Don't push it too much. Okay, don't make it so intense. You need to be more mindful about where it is and the intensity of it. Right now, it looks like way too intense. Freeze effect, live action. I'm guessing you really like Harry Potter. That's nice. Okay, so here's the thing. I like the fact that you were able to integrate. It seems like that guy is integrated, of course, into the scene, into this like thing, even the world. I think the integration is relatively successful. Like he does look like he belongs to the world, which is great. The one thing that I don't like is the effect itself. It just looks like pixels flying. Like the smoke is okay. It's the effects on the guy. Like the effects are not working. They look way too basic, I would say. The light light integration again, I really enjoy. I think you did a good job there, but the effect is not selling well, man. Like absolutely not selling well. It just looks like overlapped, right? Like there's no contribution to light on the floor. It's way too saturated compared to the rest of the grading that we have on the scene. The way it like freezes the whole thing, like that's not how ice looks, right? So I would probably work a little bit more on this before publishing. Let's see. 3D Code is cheaper than ZBrush and has a really good tool for hand painted texturing, but I don't know it's good for Character Model. It's good. Like you can do the full pipeline instead of 3D Code. I'll be doing more 3D Code stuff in the near future. They just released the new version 2026, and actually I think they still have a sale going on. So in case you guys want another alternative, right? So 3D Code is a really good option. Let's see. Store. Yeah, so right now it's like if you want the permanent license, it's $279 and euros, and there's 3 days left for that. So it's like $100 or euro discount. Really, really good. You can do sculpting, you can do texturing, you can do everything. If you guys are into hand painted stuff, this is like the best moment to just get 3D Code Textura. It's gonna give you again like the full thing, and only at that price, one thing. It's perfect. I actually when I started, I used this option right here, which is the rent to own, which is really good. So you pay this amount of euros per month, and after, in this case, 9 months for 3D Code Textura, you own it. So I think they are one of the few, like what's the word? They're one of the only few companies that do this, where you can actually do the rent to own like business model. So strongly recommend that one. Lava simulation. Okay, this one's a little bit better. I like the sliminess of things. I think the lava usually is a lot darker. It's not as like intense. You might benefit from adding a little bit of displacement. It looks a little bit too soft in certain areas. But I like what you did right there. This one's a little bit better. Now, here's the thing, my friend. You do need to decide, Ranjit. You do need to decide if you want to focus on the pipeline, like modeling, texturing, rendering, that kind of stuff, or if you want to do VFX. I would not recommend doing both, because you're not going to be able to specialize highly on in either of them, and that's going to just like make it very difficult. The way I was taught when I was learning is that we have 3 main branches on the 3D production pipeline, right? The first branch is modeling, texturing, and rendering. The second branch is animation, rigging, and all of this like movement sort of thing, motion graphics, things like that. And the last one is VFX, right? Anything VFX related, smoke, fire, explosions, magic, that kind of stuff. So those are like the 3 main things. When I was at Noman, that was the branches that you could take. You could pick generalist, you could pick modeling, texturing, you could pick animation, or you could pick VFX. I picked modeling, texturing. That was the one that I want to specialize in. Do I know how to do a little bit of rigging animation? Yes. Do I know how to do a little bit of VFX? No. VFX is the one area that I've never been into too much, but I definitely need to learn at least a little bit, right? So pick one of those 3 things, right? Like either VFX in your case, or a modeling, texturing. From what I see right here, you do have some good understanding of the modeling pipeline, but you need to like work a lot more on character stuff, for instance, and some of the texturing, or pick and go full into VFX, right? If you're already learning like Houdini and stuff, I think you would benefit from just going into VFX, but definitely push the other one. Did you try 3D Code through the 2026 updates? Yes, I tried it briefly. I haven't tried it like super like in-depth. I tried doing the new node system that they're doing for texturing. It's really freaking cool. It's really, really nice. Is it okay if my branches are concept and 3D modeling for production? I'm working in both portfolios. Yes, as I mentioned before, CGIs, it is okay. Just keep in mind that it's difficult for you to find a role that's going to require both of them. So you're either going to be hired as a 3D modeler, or you're going to be hired as a concept artist, right? It's not common to do both. Which 3D modeling field do you think will be least impacted by AI in the long run? I think animation is relatively safe. There are animation tools that are going to be using AI. A lot of motion capture is going to be using a lot of AI. It's common, but I think that's one of the ones that's going to be a little bit safer, because especially for cartoon animation, where you really want to exaggerate certain things, AI doesn't know how to do that like properly. Do you use Mari for 3D texture painting? No, I don't use Mari. I haven't used Mari in like 10 years. It's a really good software though, but I haven't used it. At least not recently. Now we go with Laura, and this is going to be the final portfolio for today. Laura Art 123 says, Laura Salazar says, hello, Abe. I graduated last year, and since then I've been sending work submissions to small independent and outsourcing studios, but nothing yet. I want to know what might be missing in my portfolio. Let's take a look. You're for Colombia. Okay, so I'm going to give you a very sad news here, my friend, Laura. Unfortunately for us in Latin America, the odds of landing a job quickly after graduating are even lower because we are not in CG industry like or 3D industry hubs, right? So the closest you have is probably Brazil. But other than that, yeah, like the roles, especially game related roles, are relatively like they're not out there. My advice, but don't worry, that's the bad news, but I'm going to give you the good news. The good news is that there is a lot of work in marketing and advertising, right? So if you can branch out and offer your skills on that on those types of industries while we keep working on our portfolio to be able to land a job in a more like game oriented industry, then the odds of you being able to make a living they're going to go higher. Here's the thing, and this is an advice not only for you, Laura, but for everyone else. Your number one focus should be to stay afloat. That's the first mission, right? So if in order to stay afloat right now, you need to take a different type of job, you need to push your 3D skills in a slightly different direction, you need to focus on a slightly different, again, like industry or whatever, do it while we keep working on this thing. I've done that myself. Like there's been periods throughout my artistic history since 2011 where I've had to take jobs that were not 3D related. I worked for a year doing like translation stuff, like literally translating from Spanish to English, like documents and things like that. So that's how it works. That's how life works, right? So there's absolutely nothing wrong with having to pivot a little bit if you need to while we keep working on our portfolio. Now, if I take a look at your portfolio, I can definitely see that these two elements right here, this guy and this guy, are the most polished ones. These are not bad, but I'm guessing these were like relatively early on your career. So this is from last year. And for instance, this one, I can see it's only the sculpt, right? So there's no... It's a sculpt and polypaint, so there's no retopology, nothing like that. It's a cool character. I like the fact that you have some nice understanding of like forms and proportions for like this like chibi type of character. So I wouldn't take it out, but it's definitely not a piece that's gonna land you a job, right? Same for this one right here. It's a good piece. It's definitely chibi. It's definitely like this sort of like indie mobile game type of things that we tend to see, but nothing that's screaming, oh, this is really, really unique. This is a little bit better. It seems like this is also only like materials and basic stuff. So one of the things that we need to do is we need to do, again, a little bit more like this. This is way, way better. I like this one way, way more. I'm concerned about the fact that... Is it like full retopology and stuff? Did you do full retopology for this one? Or is it just like basic materials and stuff? Because that's one of the things that people want to see. They want to see that you know the full production pipeline, right? So you know how to model, texture. I'm missing some wireframes right here. High poly character sculpting and modeling in ZBrush, rendering marmoset. Okay, so it's just the high poly, right? It's just the high poly. So that's a little bit problematic, okay? Exactly, Laura. I think that is indeed one of the issues, because in terms of forms, you're getting there. Like I like the way you're constructing like some of the facial structures, the muscles and stuff like that. That's cool. Like you're doing a good job. I see that you have like good again, like a topology here, a little bit dense for this particular one, but it's good. It's getting there. But we need more of this, right? Like we need more production-ready assets. And that's what I was mentioning a couple of minutes ago, right? This kind of stuff, AI is going to be able to do it very quickly, let's say. How good is it going to be for production? It's not going to be very good, I don't think. But for 3D printing, it's going to be fine. But yeah, like this is the kind of stuff that AI is going to be able to quickly do, right? So if I'm a studio and I need to have like this little monster right here, and I'm a bad studio, of course, and I don't want to hire someone, I could just like prompt this and get the model ready and start working with it, right? But here's where, again, you need to sort of like separate yourself from everyone else that's doing this kind of stuff and start showing that you can do things that are a little bit more advanced or a little bit more interesting, right? Here, let me show you something. For instance, monster stylized concept art, right? So instead of doing another monster that looks again like any other mobile monster game or monster creature that we've seen all the time, look at this amazing ones right here, right? Look at that guy. So if you're able to do this, guys, sculpt it, retopologize it, texture, doing that kind of stuff, then it becomes a lot easier, right? To be able to land a job in a good studio, in a studio that really values the creativity of an artist. Otherwise, what you're doing with this type of portfolio sometimes, or with this type of characters, is you're inviting the types of studios that don't care about the artist, and they just cared about like churning out or creating as many models as possible. And that, again, can be problematic. Let's see. Have you used Ornatrix app? I got the access to the closed beta for free, and I think it's really good to have standalone grooming app. Is it standalone now? I used it when it was a plugin for Maya. Is it standalone now? Trix app? Oh, wow. Yeah. I used it when it was... I actually bought it. Bought a license for a couple of months when it was a plugin for Maya. That's really good. I'm gonna request a beta access as well. Definitely want to try it out. It's funny because the other day...
The early beta preview of Ornatrix standalone app.
Here. So the other day we saw that there was this other software that is doing something similar. So it seems like this is going to be the direction that the industry is taking. So I have not tried this one, to be honest. I might ask if I can get one of this. But there was this other one that people were sharing the other day, Sisier. And this is another standalone grooming app as well. And it has some like physics things enabled. And it looks to be very good. I haven't tried it. Like I literally got notice of this last week, so I haven't had the time to download this and try this, but it seems to be another good option. So yeah, remember guys, the tools help. Tools are really good, but they don't make the artist, right? Like they help the artist, but they don't make the artist. So you as the artist, you need to have the fundamental understanding of what we're doing so that we can apply it. Yeah, CCR is free, so that's pretty cool, right? I did the grooming from the orc in X-Gen. I hated that. It's not that bad. I've grown to enjoy X-Gen, to be honest. But I can understand why it can be a little bit tricky sometimes. Yeah, so in your case, Laura, we need more of this stuff. We need more, as you mentioned, full pipeline for workflow characters. Because otherwise, like with just like the sculpts, again, like this is a very important exercise that you guys need to do. You guys need to put yourselves in the shoes of the recruiter or in the shoes of the studio. Imagine you have a studio and you need to hire five artists, right? You need to hire 5 artists for your project. Who are you gonna pick? Are you gonna pick someone who can show you that he knows the full pipeline, or are you gonna pick someone that has, yes, some cool pieces here in sculpt, but only shows that they've done the full pipeline once, right? That's the question. And I know we always want to think, oh, but if I was given the chance, I'm not gonna waste it. I'm gonna do my best. And like, yeah, I know. But as an investor, right, like as the studio, as the recruiter, I cannot take a risk, because if I take a risk and then you fail to deliver what I'm asking for, we're going to be behind, and then we're going to have to hire someone else, and it's just going to be a mess. So I want to play it safe as well as a studio. Like a good studio should be someone that will foster the creativity of the artist and help them grow and be better, but it's also expecting you to perform at a certain level. And in order for me to trust that you're going to perform at a certain level, I need to see in your portfolio that you already perform at that certain level, right? I cannot take a gamble and expect that you're gonna like just level up the moment you take a step in the studio, right? Do you have any tips for drawing trees? My trees always turn out ugly. For trees, I really like using C-spheres. So if you're not aware about C-spheres inside of ZBrush, you can do some really nice looking trees with C-spheres. And the cool thing about this one is that C-spheres will give you a lot of control, right? So as you can see, you can get some really interesting shapes with C-spheres. However, if you want to... Oh, Alan, do you remember the name of that software? Someone talked about that, or if anyone remembers. Because, of course, this is SpeedTree, right? SpeedTree is the main like software to make trees. The problem is, well, it's $20 per month. And you could potentially make the tree in SpeedTree and then export the base mesh into ZBrush and sculpt it more. But there was a free alternative. SpeedTree. Tree it. Tree It. Haven't tried it either. Tree It. Tree generator. So this one seems to be similar to SpeedTree, where you can like create again trees of different types and stuff, and it seems like it's free, so you might want to give it a shot. This was updated recently, so it should be relatively good. You can create any tree, very easy to create 3D models. Yeah, so you might want to try this one. Tree. There you go. There's an add-on for tracing blend. Yeah, there's probably like a bunch of different options. Of course, again, like remember guys, whenever we're talking about options, plugins, softwares, there's most of the time is going to be like the main one, the one that everyone in the industry uses, the one that's usually paid, right? And it's really freaking good. It usually has more time being developed and therefore has more tools and more options for you. But there will always be other like add-ons or free alternatives or open source softwares that you could also use. Are they going to give you exactly the same result as some of the other ones? No, but they're probably going to get you close. Let's see. Would you mind if you take a look fast on my portfolio? I learned mostly from your tutorial video, only if you have spare time, of course. Yeah, I'm sorry, my friend. I won't be able to do that today, but as you guys know, we will have another portfolio review on the 28th. So August 28th, we're going to have one more portfolio review, and you can submit there, okay? For those of you that want to submit for the next one, the way this works is you need to join the Discord channel. I believe, yeah, there's the invite right there. Let me link it on YouTube as well, very quickly. So join the Discord channel. Once you join, you go to showcases, and here in portfolio review, this is where we upload the post, and here on the post you can enter and start uploading your stuff. There's some rules though. You need to follow these rules, okay? Someone asked about their portfolio being lost on this one. It's probably because one of the rules was not like followed. What are the rules? Well, you need to have been doing this for a little bit, so at least 1 year of experience doing 3D, because otherwise, if you're just like new to the 3D world, most of the stuff that I'm going to tell you are things that you can already find in the tutorials. You need to not have submitted in the last 3 months, so you cannot submit. So for whoever submitted today, for instance, on July, they cannot submit until August, September, October, until November. So if they want to submit again, it's going to be until November, okay? And that's it. You need to include a little message, who you are, what you're doing, or what would you like to achieve. And once you do that, I'm going to be able to, of course, help you here with your portfolio. Any more questions where where do we see the portfolios? So as I mentioned, there is a new, well, not new, we actually had this for a while now, but it's called Leal 3D Clips. So this one right here is a secondary channel that we have. I'm going to link it on the chats as well. It's this one and this one. And all of the portfolios from July are going to be uploaded during August, okay? So if you go here, for instance, you can see that every single portfolio that we do, it's individually uploaded. Why do we do this? Because we want people to get more spotlight to their stuff. So if someone looks for instance, Misha Martuniuk, they are going to find this video, right? Like Google's going to throw this video and they're going to be able to see a little bit more interaction. So this gives a little bit more spotlight to every single artist. So all of these things are going to be, or all of the portfolios are going to be on this secondary channel right here, Leal 3D Clips. Let's see. Kisco Edits says, please review my portfolio. No, my friend. And even if you ask it multiple times, I'm not going to be able to break the rules right now for you. But again, you're welcome to submit this for August. So at the end of this month, you can do that as well. Any more questions, my friends, before we finish this special live stream here on this special Sunday? Any more? Otherwise, it's time to get some rest. Prepare for the beginning of the week. We're going to have a very important video this week on Wednesday. We're going to talk about AI. So a couple of weeks ago, we did a state of the industry video, and I think you guys really enjoyed that one. We had some really, really good conversation points. Now we need to talk about AI because it's important. AI is not going to go away. We do need to include AI in our workflows, but not in the way you might be thinking. So we need to find a specific way to utilize those tools to become better artists, but not replace the creative side of things. And that's what we're going to be talking about in the next video, okay? Let's see. I need motivation. Sagar, go out there and make amazing 3D. The motivation you're going to find within yourself, and you're going to find it while you're working. You need to start working on something. If you're not working, you're not going to find the motivation. In other news, we will be having the end of our contest this Thursday. We're going to have the submission. So if you're working on the contest for Call to Adventure, make sure you submit on Thursday. Do not waste time and make sure you do not miss the deadline, because if you miss the deadline, you're not going to be able to participate in the contest. We're going to have a full review of all of the participants next Friday. It's going to be like another portfolio review, right, for all of the submissions for the contest. We're going to be announcing the judges during this week as well, so stay tuned for that. We're going to have some announcements there. I got some pretty cool people helping out this time, so I think you guys are going to enjoy that. And after that, yeah, we're going to have 2 weeks to review all of the submissions, and we're going to be announcing the winners at the end of the month. That's pretty much it, my friends. Thank you very much for everyone who tuned in today. I know it's a special day that we normally don't have streams in, but thank you very much for being part of this, and I'll see you very, very soon. That's it. What else? Am I missing something? Oh, of course I'm missing something. Don't forget, my friends, always learning, always improving. I'll see you back on the next one. Bye-bye.